Actually, what am I doing? I'm gonna jump into it, I think, actually. I forgot to start you just chatting, so we're just gonna go straight in, I feel. So my hand is annoying the fuck out of me. I think it's been in a stiff position too long. Might be a little inconvenient, but it is what it is. Medication a while ago. I think I'm just ready to just hop in. Yeah. Right, I forgot. What the? Screw's gonna do this. Make some progress. I forgot how many chapters there are. Was that 13? Something like that, but like again, chapter 5 is the longest chapter. The fact that they broke it up in 2 parts. And so nothing's going to be quite as long as this. Let me check out extras again, because I actually don't remember. No, it was like part 1. Part 4. Okay. Anyways, let's continue. Okay. Got some water. Night of the Witches 2. Let's just hop into it, I feel. Actually, let me try to fix it real quick so I can actually see my volume. I realize I'm mumbling to myself. Anyways, let's just go. Hop in. Make some progress with it. After the chapter 5 hump, we're technically over halfway in terms of just raw hours. The melody stirred in motion like nostalgia within them. Oh yeah, we just escaped the red-headed doll that was using curses. That was attacking both Sojiro and Aoko. At the evening part, after Aoko tried to jump Sojiro, and now that Aoko's like, I'll let you go. Alice is not messing with that. That's that one bit. Something once familiar but now lost to this world. They believed beyond the shadow of a doubt that would play for all eternity. From opening stanza to final coda, it was a mysterious siren song, merry yet longing, that heralded a return from dreams to reality. It's a better shot than a cute charm. It's like a Egyptian style cat, but in the shape of like a. The bottom paws make me think it's like a cello. The night shook. A song was spun. Now, the lost paradise was unearthed. Abandoned dreams, forsaken idols. They all responded to the cry of the blue cat. The name of that bell was Diddle Diddle Banquet of the Night. All fables made possible, all marvels made real, all by the magecraft of Alice Kwanji, for more magical than magic itself.
随分と身勝手ね。
How selfish of you.
それはあなた一人で決めていいことだったかしら。 青子
That's something you can really decide on your own, Alco. Alice sat perched atop the clock tower like a black bird of ill omen. She smoothed the ruffles off her skirt as if she were preening.
アリス
Alice. There was tension in Alco's voice as she lifted her head. The calm atmosphere from a moment prior had long since been shooed away by Alice's gaze.
あの子確か
That girl. I've seen her somewhere before. Sergio searched his hazy memory. He could not clearly make out her face at this distance, but he was sure he had seen her around town a number of times. Where and when eluded him, however, his attention in the air kept him from connecting all the dots.
驚いた随分と仲間思いになったのねアリス今夜は私に任せるんじゃなかったっけ
Oh, isn't this a turn of events? I didn't know you cared so much, Alice. I thought you were going to leave tonight. To me. Alka readied her guard and took half a step forward. Unconsciously. From an objective standpoint, it almost looked as though she were protecting the figure beside her. Alice's signs grew even heavier. Eyes fixed on the ground below her were devoid of emotion. An indescribable sense of dread and pressure laid claim over the plaza.
金
Bell. If he strained his ears, he could make out the faint ring of a bell echoing in the distance. The rippling sound wave seemed unbelievably to be emanating from the ground.
なあ青崎あの子
Hey, Ozaki, that girl. She's
黙ってて
quiet. Amate. Pedro stepped back, trying to stay out of the way. It was as though he had been told to go to hell. For the crime of asking if the girl was Ako's friend.
そうね仲間思いに当てはまるかは微妙だけど
I wouldn't
良く
go
な
far.
い予感がしたから様子を見に来ただけ
I wouldn't go as far to say I cared. I simply had a feeling something might be wrong and came to check.
別にあなたの仕事を疑ったわけじゃないわ
It's not as though I had any doubts regarding your ability to handle the job.
それはどうもどうせならもう少し早くその良くない予感とやらに気づいてほしかったけど
It's appreciated. It would have been nice if you had to come to check just a bit earlier, though.
でもまご覧の通り自己解決したわ
As you can see, things seem to have worked themselves out.
夜も遅いしさっさと帰っていいわよアリス私の仕事っぷりを疑うわけじゃないんでしょ
It's late. But don't let me keep you, Alice. So you have no doubts about my ability, right? Their eyes locked to one another. Alice's stare was uncomfortably cold. Alco's was bold, daring Alice to air her complaints.
いえ気が変わったわ
I think I've changed my mind.
せっかくだし二人で帰りましょうその方があなたらしいわ帰りしな人形の話でも聞かせてちょうだい
I'm here now. So why don't the two of us go home? That's more your style anyway, Alco. You can tell me all about your adventures with the puppet on the way.
らしいって何よらしいって
What's that supposed to mean?
いいから帰れ帰れぐうたらアリス部屋に閉じこもって役に立たないムクドリでも作ってろっての
Go home, Alice. Shut yourself in your room and make some more of your worthless birds. Birds? A disappointed sigh escaped Alice's delicate lips. It seemed that the black-clad girl was more astonished than angry.
青子口にしたくないけど本気
Alka, I hate to say this, but seriously? Yeah, I'm kind of with her. Seriously? I don't know if you want the smoke after you barely escaped. Quiet. Alice questioned her roommate of nearly 2 years.
呆れた 二人で秘密を守ると言ったのに。
You surprised me. Did you not say we would protect our secret together?
まだ半端にそっち側なの？それとも情でも移った？
Are you still having trouble letting go of the other side? Or has compassion taken hold of you?
別に情っていうより私の気分。
Not at all. This isn't compassion. I just feel like doing it this way.
だいたい方針なんてその場その場で変わるもんでしょ。気分ならなおさらよ。
No plan survives contact with the enemy. You know that. Same goes for my move.
そっちこそ一度した約束は絶対守るなんて時代遅れなんじゃない？
Besides, who goes out of their way to keep a promise she made forever ago? A little old-fashioned, if you ask me. Okay, I agree with you, but Sojiro is such an idiot that I'm pretty sure he would just blab to anyone. Imperial knives routes now. No quarter was given nor taken. Sadly, their partnership was one of convenience, and had not reached a level of mutual understanding. Their version of friendship was both delicate and unique. When a conflict of opinion arose, each would refuse to budge until the other crumbled. Neither was concerned for the other's plight, and at least for now, that was how they liked it.
そうね。今の暴言はあなたらしいとは思うけど。
You know, I've come to accept stupid outbursts like that from you. Once again, she let out a sigh, even larger than the one before.
言い争いは後にしましょう。
Can we save this argument for later?
そこの彼をいなかったことにするのは
I can make him
私だ
disappear
け
on
で
my
十
own.
分だし。
Finally, she stuck straight to the point. As if making to move a chess piece, Alice lifted her slender fingers. A fork? The simple action seemed mysterious to Sojiro, the same boy who had been hunted by his classmate Aoko Aozaki and borne witness to an automaton. Aoko's violence and an animated doll. Though perhaps far beyond the realm of logic, both these things were derived from reality. As surprised as he had been, there's been no need to think of them as total mysteries. However, when the thing appeared out of thin air from a seemingly unrelated gesture, he had no word for it besides mysterious. Shiro stood motionless, captivated by the stage performer's magic trick, as the girl's single-finger magecraft turned into an attack directed at him. A blue light flew from the side to repel it, annihilating it without a trace.
やば。
She has one bullet left! Oh, crap. Aoko immediately regretted her reflexive shot.
どういうこと？約束を曲げただけじゃなく、ルールまで破るつもり？
What are you doing? Not satisfied with breaking just our promise, so you must break the rules as well? The already chilled midwinter air plunged below freezing. Alice looked calm and collected on the outside, but in reality, she was something even more hot-blooded than Aoko. This was especially true when it concerned her familiars. Accidentally breaking one would often result in a week of silent treatment, but against someone who maliciously destroyed her things, Alice was prone to retaliate without warning.
あっちゃー。いつかやるとは思ったけど、ついに逆鱗に触れちゃったか。
Oops. We're gonna do that someday, but I couldn't have picked a worse time. Aoko sighed at herself. Even she was exasperated by her own stupidity, yet she couldn't help but feel a pang of relief. She did not intend to make any excuses, and she had no regrets. If she had broken the rules, then so had Alice.
青子。
Wait, how did Alice break the Wait, no, you're not making any sense. Aoko.
なんていうか、
How do I put it? If anything, this took a load off her mind. After all, now there was no going back. Aoko never intended to break her own rules. If there was anything for Aoko to regret, it was putting too little power into her
私
shot.
的に今夜こいつに死なれるのは困るのよ。
I have a problem with this guy dying tonight.
なんで日を改めて殺しに来てくれないアリス。いいでしょ、たった1日ぐらい。
Can we reschedule the execution? What difference does a day make? That's true. There's no way Alco can stalk Alice this entire time to stop her from executing her on her own. And they also just ask him to not say anything. To Alco, it was simply natural to take on a pro bono case in defense of an innocent suspect.
それは市場？
Is this personal?
悪い？一宿一般の恩義って割と大事にしてるの私。
So what if it is? You know that paying back my debts is pretty important.
私との協定より
More important than our agreement.
ええ、時と場合によっては。
Sure, depending on the time and place. That's kind of cold. Third-world human rights had not yet entered the argument. The girls were busy pouring oil on each other's flames. The girls clad in black was the first to move, or rather, to erupt.
そうよくわかったわ青子
I see. I understand how you feel, Alco.
私は彼をここで殺す
I'm going to have to kill him here.
あなたは彼をここだけ生かす
I believe that you would let him live.
つまり私と戦う
Shall I take it to
ということでいい？
mean that you're ready to fight me for it? Okay.
そんなのいいわけないじゃない。
You know damn well, right or not. Alco bit back to retort. She was very familiar with Alice's magecraft, and knew painfully well how many mystics were hidden in Alice's tiny body. Excuse me? The odds of victory were essentially non-existent, and once the first shot had been fired, Alice Kwanji was without mercy, whether facing a roommate or a friend, a most beloved family member or a stranger. Once Alice began to fight as a witch, she became a heartless, unflappable monster. Alco advanced another step forward as if to encourage herself. It was too late to back down now. The situation was no longer a trivial quarrel over a witness. The bedrock of their so-called friendship had nothing to do with their individual abilities, and everything to do with being equals in will. That is why, in order to stay true to herself, Alco had no room for compromise or deception.
もちろん
I see.
あんたを殺すことになってもそこのバカは生かしきるわ。それに
Of course. I'm going to make sure this idiot lives, even if it means killing you. Besides, the Mishka circus howled as they kicked into gear. Her body, which had mostly been dormant during the battle with Puppet, ignited, preparing to demonstrate its true worth.
それにどの道最後には殺し合う仲でしょ私たち。
We're going to end up killing each other in the end anyway. Her courage overpowered any fear she had for her opponent. Tuning her body, her magic circuits, to become like the barrel of a gun, Alco fired a magic bullet with an exceedingly basic magecraft formula. There was no nature inference, no creating of wind, parting of water, or hastening of decay. It was simply the process of converting the imaginary activity known as magical energy to something real before releasing it as heat. Thus, Alco's destructive power was equal to her supply of magical energy. The magical bullets she had used against Sojiro were among the most basic single-action magecraft that did not require an incantation. At her present ability, Alco's main mode of attack, her magic bullet, could be fired at three levels of power. Oh, like a DD spell. You're upcasting it. I see. These were at the second level. This required a double action magecraft, a casting through activation of her crest combined with a simplified incantation. She just blocked that? I thought she was going to at least dodge it. However, without blinking, Alice dispersed a shot that Alco had mustered all her spirit to fire. Alco tutted in frustration. Tutted? Swift sneak attack that used a simplified incantation could not be enough to break Alice's guard.
相変わらずお堅いこと。そのから一段と独りよがりになってるんじゃない？
As stiff as ever, I see. Don't you think that shell's making you complacent? Alka provoked Alice in order to disguise her own lack of composure. Somehow Alice seemed delighted by Alka's
売
bravado.
り言葉に買い言葉というやつね。
I suppose this is what they call fighting words.
こういう勢いだけのきっかけは初めてだけど、
I never fought to the death for such trivial reason.
驚いたわ。こんなくだらない理由でもその気になるものなのね、人間って。
I'm really shocked. Humans are such conceited creatures. Alice giggled. Smiling with heartfelt amazement, Alice gestured her left hand toward the earth. Stab, 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 stab. Countless utensils shot up from underneath the cobblestone paving the plaza.
しずきくん、後ろに飛んで。
Get back. She grabbed his hand as she shouted, jumping backward before they even had a chance to respond. As if they had wills of their own, the utensils had suddenly appeared from the ground, gave chase. As the barrier of spears grew around them, Alka and Citra put some distance between themselves and the clock tower.
え、これで終わり？
That all you got? Just under 30 stood between them and Alice. The lethal weapons that had crumbled the stone beneath them fell short of what Alko had anticipated. They now encircled the clock tower, making the scene look like a burning of a witch at the stake.
普通逆じゃない。ここは私たちを逃がさないよう槍で周りを囲むものでしょ。
Is this backwards? You expect the spirits to try to stop us from escaping. The path behind them was safe. If they wanted, they could try to make a break for the main gate and escape.
いいのアリス。悪いけど逃げられるなら逃げるわよ。私。
Sorry, but if you're gonna let me escape, I'm not gonna pass the chance up. She could just make it back to town. It'd be Alko's win. All she wanted to do was let Sergio get away for the night. If she get him back to the city, it would be, for the most part, mission accomplished. You know, okay. There's a lot of risk to let this dude survive another, what, 12 hours? Like, how late is it? Like another 12, 16 hours. What is that?
Huh?
Or so she thought. Without even offering a glance at her targets below, Alice carefully and lovingly pulled out a bottle from her pocket.
緑のフラスコ？
A green flask?
あれって確か。やば！とにかくファイ
Wait, that's... Damn it. Fire? Her shot was deflected with ease. Gone was Alko's early bravado. It was only natural. Alko had indeed grown as a mage. Over the last 2 years of study, her studies had progressed well. She more or less got in the grasp of her roommate's tendencies and abilities. Really? Dude, what is in this bottle? The guy who flashbacks. Reminiscing. Oh, that shot's cold. Said made her conceited enough to believe that, under favorable circumstances, she'd be able to show Alice a thing or two in a fight. Alice uncorked the magic bottle. A gentle breeze caressed her cheek. Diddle Diddle fled as a new player stepped onto the stage. But from where would it enter? The sound of footsteps, a nostalgic parade approached. No way. What is happening? Is the music park possessed now? Like the entire park itself? What emerged was a miracle that Alko Azaki, an apprentice mage, had never witnessed. The dead came to life. The inanimate awakened. The woods were enveloped by the mists. Fire-breathing lizards lurked in the swamps. Puppets made merry at midnight. Alice Kwanji's slender fingers had transfigured the entirety of the park as if it as if gently stroking the back of an elderly cat.
いいわ。
Very well.
ごっこ遊びをしましょう。青子。
Let's play pretend. Oh. For one night, the wasteland of dashed hopes and dreams were restored to its former glory. It was an immortal monster ready to devour reality. A dark fairy tale that once unleashed would never let its prey
逃げら
escape.
れるものなら逃げてみせて。
Run if you dare.
どこまで行けるかわからないけど、この夜を越えることができたのなら、あなたの勝ちにしてあげる。
I don't believe you'll get far, but if you can survive the night, I'll concede this round to you. What are these insane stakes? Her declaration marked the start of a desperate battle. The witch in black laughed at her friend. Her musical mirth filled with affection, sadness, and innocent delight. Beta Glory returned to Kitsy Land. I forgot it's called Kitsy Land. The neon glow of innumerable lights illuminated the night. Speakers filled the air with the sound of vinyl music. The merry-go-round, small and large, whirled round and round. All in all, it made for a mind-bending spectacle. It was certainly possible to power the facility by transmuting magical energy to electricity via alchemy. That said, simply supplying the part of electricity would not have brought back to life that which was broken. The young woman did this not by mixing chemicals into a compound, by melting down the divine providence into a witch's brew.
まずいわね。アリスのプロイは何個か見てきたけど、今回のは桁が違う。
This is bad. I've seen her ploys, and this one is something completely new.
セット。
Connection. Stifling her anxiety, Akko fired up the crest on her right arm. If the magical circuits were a mage's engines, then their crest was a software that assisted their magecraft. For the fledgling maid Akko, this was her trump card. Okay, so there are circuits and crests. Interesting. All she had to do was supply magical energy to her crest-based formula. It may not have been the strongest magecraft, but it was hers. Proof that she was the successor of Awazaki lineage. Of the Awazaki lineage.
講師2層直流数も
Execute. Double layer. Direct current crest. So it's like a gear shifter, I see. It's like a what's it called? I forget the because you have manual transmission, like the transmission in the car. The pattern of her crest shifted to execute the formula, which then connected to her magical circuits. The process resembled trains changing rails, a puzzle involving dozens of circuits. Yeah, correct. She constructed it as swiftly as possible without sacrificing the quality of its construction. Instant magecraft cast without incantation would not be enough to reach Alice Kwanji. Akko had gauged the strength of Alice's defense with her initial shots. She would dial up the power 5 times the next time, driving 20 tons of force into her target. Huh? Alice had I did not respect these bullets. What the heck? Alice had the protection of the thick hanging fog and the dense barrier around her. However, this attack would be more enough to pierce through both. If Akko struck home, it could cave in Alice's chest and end the fight. At worst, it would at least knock Alice down from position atop the clock tower.
そろそろいいかな。
Not now, Sojiro. Hey, I have a question. As always, there was one guy who spoiled the deadly tension, pulling Akko out of her killer mode. Sojiro had been looking back and forth between Akko and Alice in confusion.
それでどういう話になったんだ？
What's going on now? He said it like he might ask for he said it like he might ask for directions at the train station. Normally she would have lashed out in response, but his deadly serious tone shocked rather than angered her.
信じられない。慣れてきた、私。
Unbelievable. This is my life now. Go swallowed back a sigh and returned her focus to activating her crest.
交渉は決裂。ちょっと怒らせすぎた。
Negotiations broken down. I pissed her off a little bit.
あの子から見れば、まあいい機会だし、遊園地ごと私を亡き者にしようって腹ね。
From her perspective, this is a good chance to kill me off, along with the entire theme park, I guess. Mr. tilted his head, as if begging for a simpler explanation.
私、割とあの子に恨まれてるから。捕まったが最後、どんな風に殺されるか想像すらできないわ。
She's really got it in for me. I can't imagine what sort of death she has in store if she catches me.
要するに、あんたも私もあの子をどうにかしないと生きて帰れないってことよ。
What I'm saying is, neither of us are getting out of this alive unless we do something about her.
そんなとばっちりだ。
So you're saying I got dragged into your quarrel? Yes, bro.
まあ、そういうことになるかもね。
Pretty much. Sojiro posted in tone, wholly inappropriate to the situation. Ako let out another burst ripped from her right arm. This was not aimed at Sojiro, though. A little earlier in the day, Ako would have been happy to do exactly that. But now, her attention was focused on the girl in black atop the clock tower. Ako's mind struggled to catch up to her astonishment. He had fired the strongest, fastest magical bullet she had the ability to conjure, and Alice blocked it. That much was to be expected. When Alice set her mind to defending herself, such an attack was child's play. What just happened? Something Ako had never seen before leapt to Alice's defense. A team of horses? A plague of locusts? No. Those existed in the real world, unlike what Ako just witnessed. Normal creatures could not form like a spontaneous cloud of fog and then dissipate just as quickly into the night sky. What? Impossible. Things moved into impossible ways. Possible things moved in impossible ways, excuse me. Alice was not even supplying them with any power source. Those things never needed power in the first place. Those broken and discarded things did not follow the rules of mankind. This was an invasion of fairy tales. What the hell is happening? What is there, a horse train rolled up upside down? Hello? Compared to them, the automaton looked merciful. Tom's puppets were products of magecraft. Even they behaved as puppets should. These newly animated things, however, were nothing of the sort. Empty vessels became living creatures. Dummies warped into malformed beings. There was a fog so dense with magical energy it visibly spread to all corners of the park, bringing with it a monstrous welcoming party that easily outnumbered over 1,000. Spurred by the shuddering sensation running down her spine, Ako fired a barrage of single-action magic bullets. Her impulsive attacks scattered futilely. Okay, we're pretending like that you two are on the same level. It's kind of crazy, no? The knights of the merry-go-round soared into the sky. Green, fire-breathing lizards flocked. The bakeries opened their doors once again, and human-sized loaves of bread marched from their ovens as platoons of newly baked soldiers.
Aozaki, 後ろ!
Was it the soldiers? Aozaki, behind you. Ako and Sojiro were completely surrounded. The Ferris wheels creaked as it gently turned. A rookie train raced about the roller coaster tracks with Kitsy, tears streaming down his face at horror. It was a grossly twisted fantasy. Their growing black reigned over the sanity-fueled park. Oh, now we're screwed. Akko had transfixed by the scene of the scene unfolding around her. Then she realized what was happening.
そうだ、これは
Oh, I know what this is. Dude, please explain. Please explain. Oz once told her of the Meinster's familiar. Among them were 3 of particular notoriety, one of which she recalled being capable of something similar to this. And it was called
プロイキッシャーフラットスナーク
Boy Kickshaw Flat Snark. Those were words, I said.
青崎だから後ろ
Seriously, Azaki, behind you. Struck by Aku's bullets, the creature exploded into splinters. It was clear Aku's shot had become more powerful, but it was also the case that these beings were less robust than your average automata.
しずきくんこっち
Suzuki, this way. Aku turned away from the clock tower, grabbed his hand, and began to run.
青崎
ごめんこれ無理逃げるわよ
Sorry. No time. We're running.
逃げるってどこに
Running to where?
どこってとにかく行けるところまで
Doesn't matter anywhere. She shouted as though trying to persuade herself. As she valiantly cleared a path. Getting tongue-tied. Aqua's magical bullets flew like a scream, blowing away the creatures that blocked or simply gathered around their path. She made a hole for them to escape. I thought she had like 24 shots or something like that. Did she say? Magical bullets exploded like blue fireworks. Akon sort of ran down the bumpy brick road. I guess that was that before she enhanced her crest? Maybe that like bypasses everything. Their bond forged in the heat of battle went far beyond mutual convenience. They headed for the park's exit at full speed without exchanging a word or a look back. The weirdness only extended as far as the park's border, but it would be safe as long as they made it outside. Wouldn't she have like a barrier? But speaking in pure number, the difference in strength was 2 versus an army. Or I guess maybe the barriers they kind of explained keep people out. They're not made to keep people in. Or rather, 1 versus an army. Chojo was hardly useful in the situation, and manpower wasn't really the issue since they were facing puppets.
さっきの大丈夫上からこうでっかいハサミが落ちてきたけど
You okay? There were some giant pincers back there. Akko shouted as she blasted away the monsters that stood in their path. There's no time to stop for breath or even look back.
なんとかギリギリ
Yeah, just barely. As Sojiro pursued, his voice, too, had naturally become shrill. 5 minutes earlier, they had broken out of the siege at the plaza surprisingly fast. It seemed that the residents' awakening differed case by case, with larger creatures taking additional time.
ラッキー朝に弱いタイプばっかと見た
We're lucky they're not the morning type. Akko joked that she mowed down the small fry that popped up. But then, without warning, something outrageous extended its way down from above. It was the claws of a 60-foot lobster adoring the roof of the seafood restaurant. Its pincers were like a guillotine. As Akko and Sojiro cut across the front of the restaurant, the Red King pressed in a tremendous speed, keen on splitting them each in 2.
しずきくん U ターンこっちはダメ
Heard about, so it's no good. I think it was just on the other side of the restaurant. They had to take the long way around in order to lose the giant lobster snapping at their heels. Waiting along their detour had been a horde of monsters, too many to count.
なんとかギリギリ
Yeah, just barely. Super called out in response, recalling just how narrowly he had avoided his head being severed clean from his body.
手前うわなんだあれ焼きたてか
front of us. What the heck are those? Are they freshly baked?
そうみたいね。要するに下級兵士よ。
Looks like, in other words, they're cannon fodder. Ako halted her sprint and set her crest into full
距
operation.
離7、6、5メートル。あの程度ならスナップだけで事足りる。
Range 7, 6, 5 yards. At this distance, Snap will take him down. Seeing her on the brick path, she brandished her arm. She loosed a shower of magic bullets. Snap was a single action spell that favored rate of fire over power, and it moved down and mowed down the monsters with satisfying pops. Ah, I see. They don't look particularly different, but
青崎そっちも
Azuki more over there.
了解。
After that. Okay, never mind. Because then that's bullets, though. Blue explosions bloomed along the lamp-lit promenade. Algo's current of fire fanned out. It was as marvelous star-mine fireworks shone. Toy Breadman turned to charcoal.
いける。数でこそ押されてるけど、この状態が続くなら逃げ切れる。しずきくん、そっちは。
We can do this. They got us overpowered in numbers, but at this rate, we'll be able to get out of here. How's it looking up?
いない空いてるここからなら入り口の東側に出られるはずだ
Looks clear to me. Should be able to approach the exit from the east. A magical barrier that would leave an average spellcaster blue in the face. The novice mage broke through the siege. Meanwhile, a single bird cleanly watched everything unfold. This fuck-ass bird. Chirp, cheep, cheep, chirp. Am I really going to read this? The moment the bluebird descended into its master's field of vision, it made its high-pitched call. The girl listened expressionlessly to reports.
構わないわ。予想通りよ。
No matter. Everything's going as
撃
expected.
つこと、壊すことしか脳がなくても、青子の魔力の使い方は波じゃないから。急増
Even
の
if she
使
only
い技
knows
じ
how
ゃ
to shoot and
まだ
destroy.
相手にはならないでしょう。
The way Akko uses magical energy is extraordinary. Hastily formed familiars are no match for her. The robin flapped his wings as it tweeted in response. Perhaps it was criticizing Alice for complimenting Alco. Or perhaps it was jealous of Alco for being praised by Alice. Alice could barely make sense of its chirping rant. Aozaki was a novice mage. Until just 2 years ago, she had grown up with no background in magecraft. Compared to Alice, who was raised as a witch from birth, Alco possessed far less talent and experience. There was simply no comparison to be made. In a concept of skills in magecraft, 10 times out of 10, Alice would be declared the victor. The 10-0 matchup is crazy. However, the narrative changed when it came to a battle for life and death. Ashkanchi was not the type of mage suited for combat. Akko Ozaki, on her hand, was built for it. In a contest that pitted magical energy against magical energy, even Alice would concede that Alice had the upper hand, that Alco had the upper hand. Alco's manipulation of magical energy was extraordinary. The skill of her magical circuits was smaller than that of Alice, but their rotation speed, durability, and output quality, not to mention efficiency, were otherworldly. So it really is like an engine. If size doesn't matter for the circuits, it's rotation speed. Okay. Interesting. Kind of reminds me of like actual circuits, or actual like wiring, where you want certain material can conduct electricity easier, so it has a better there's like a better coefficient for actual electrical outputs. for like output you get out of outlets. So you'd want stuff like that. It's interesting. That was with Aoko Azaki's hallmark. Though she had many failings when handling sophisticated formulae. In just 2 years of practice, Aoko has surpassed Alice in simple formulae that merely required an energy output. She also had the genius instincts and adaptability. Though Aoko was not particularly proficient at executing magecraft, she was terrifyingly fast. If she had been born outside of Aozaki's clan, she would have doubtless risen to fame as a competitive sharpshooter.
でも
What a pity. In a straight shootout, Alice did not stand a chance. Ashkanji had never bothered to learn primitive magecraft like magic bullets in the first place. She was the classic puppeteer. Her familiar served as her arms and legs to carry out all the particulars of battle.
制限時間には気づいているわよね、青子。
So you're like a witch in like Path of Exile. You actually don't do anything if your summons are gone. Clock's ticking now.
魔力はいくらでも貸してあげるけど、あなたの魔弾はあと半時で値崩れするわ。
I'll have to lend you all the ammunition in life, but after an hour, those bullets will be worthless. Chirping as if in agreement, the robin took flight. It had been nearly 10 minutes since Alice made the amusement park into her domain. To what would the green fog give birth next? Aoko and Sutro, still running about, would soon come to understand the gravity of their situation. I'm imagining the Ferris wheel is going to come alive, because that's the most
しずきくん、正門ってこっち？
like stylish thing that I think can happen. Suzuki, is this the way out?
ああ、その店を曲がれば出口だ。
Yeah, the exit's just around that store. Running nothing at full speed had them at their limits. The breath ragged, the duo rounded the corner at the breakfast place. Breakneck place. Breakfast place. As you depart, though this was still in the infamous Kitsy Lane. It would have taken a high school student 20 minutes to sprint the entire circumference of the park. And though they were now intimately familiar with the park's geography, it was changing beyond recognition. The transformation was not limited to the park's residents either.
青崎、
何を？
What?
言いたくないんだけど、この遊園地広くなってないか？
Ask this, but is it just me or is the park getting bigger? Whoa! It was. The problem wasn't as mundane as mistaking the location of the exits nor the strange terrain. No, the park was warping and twisting in upon itself. Even as they ran, its structure was expanding and growing like that of a living creature. Soon the pair noticed that the mob encircling them had grown even stronger. Entrusting her back to Sojiro, Aoko summoned all her effort just to keep from whining. No one would blame Sojiro for cowering in shock, but for Aoko to do the same. She bore responsibility for causing and dragging them into this mess. She could afford to succumb to panic.
大丈夫。落ち着け
Pull
私。
myself together. Pull yourself together, Aoko.
遊園地の果てはある。
Walk across the end
遠
somewhere.
いけど、
Maybe
手先
far,
はちゃんと見える。
but the fence is right there.
フラットスナークだって制限なしってわけじゃない。
Even flat
外
snock
に
has
逃げるって
limits.
選択は正しいはず。
Into the exit is the right choice, I think.
現状、外までは目算で1キロぐらいだけど。
Mirror looked like the better part of a mile away. Up to now, they had been too concerned with simply running. Their breathings become labored. They had to run another mile without rest and would end up collapsing along the
青
way.
崎、体大丈夫か？
Azaki, how are you holding up? Physically, I mean. What? The whispers from behind pull Aoko back to reality.
大丈夫だけど、ちょっと一息入れたいわね。
Fine, but I need to catch my breath.
賛成。
Good idea.
ここから休みなしで外周まで走るのは。
Well, then maybe get
やめた方が
outside
いい
if we don't rest.
驚いた。しずきくんも外まで走ろう派とは。
You know, I never thought that you'd be okay with making a run for it. She let slip a giggle. Far from debilitated by panic, her comrade in arms, even allies in the situation and forming an escape plan. Debilitated. debilitating.
ちょっとだけ建物に逃げ込むのは
We're gonna hold up in one of those buildings for a while. That could be alive? I don't know.
気は
Man.
進まないけどそれしかないわね。
I don't like it, but it's our best option right now. The Redman had them completely surrounded. Fast down might have been a problem for an average person, but for Alco, breaking through the formation to get to the building would be a cinch. This she was.
問題はどんな店を選ぶ
She considered the characteristics of the transforming part. What would pose a danger, what was safe. The most important factor was not the strength or the complexity of the building.
そうだ、選ぶならあの単純さで正しいはず。
Simple, stupid.
しずきくん、あっち。
Suzuki this way. After routing the monsters, Akko hopped behind the counter, soon followed by Sojiro.
カウンターに隠れてて。
Get behind the counter. Like she was in a Western shootout, Akko squared off against the monsters, using the counter as cover. God damn, let that girl sing.
ビンゴ、ここならスナーク化しないんだ。
Nothing in here can get snarkified. Is that what we're calling it? After assessing the current state of the enemy, Akko sat down under the counter.
あいつらは
What are they doing?
店の周りで地団打踏んでるわ。理由があってね。あいつらはここには入ってこられないのよ。
They're snapping their feet in frustration because they're angry they can't get in. Akko gave the perplexed Sojiro a grin and took a moment to catch her breath. She heaved a heavy sigh of relief and fatigue.
とりあえずコーヒーブレイクね。ここは遊園地の中でも遊びのない場所だから、あいつらにとっては鬼門なのよ。
We'll take 5 here. This restaurant is the blandest place in the park, which makes it their Achilles
レ
heel.
ジスターも調理器具も最近のものだし、擬人化されたマスコットもないし、スナーク化するにはちょい文明犬すぎるってこと。
The registers and utensils are all modern, and there are no mascot characters. It's just a bit too civilized for a snark to mess with.
スナーク
Snark.
あいつらの名前よ。つけたのは私じゃなくてアリスなのかしらね。あの子の性格的にちょっと想像できないけど、まあとにかくそういう名前。
That's their name, though Alice is the one who came up with it. I think. It does really sound like her. It doesn't really sound like her. But whatever. That's what they're called. Perhaps now at ease knowing they were safe, Sojiro seemed enthralled in her explanation. Akko could not help but chuckle as Sojiro nodded sagely. It was certain that he had no idea what she was talking about. Normally this would have irritated her, but this time she was grateful for the warmth of his strange sobriety.
それはともかく調子良さそうだな青崎
It's good that you seem better, Aozaki. Mistaking her smile for composure, Sojiro broke into a smile himself. It was just another link in a chain of misunderstandings, but there was no need to redress it.
あれ、あなたから見てもわかる？
Oh, you
私
could
の
tell.
マダンの威力が上がっているの。
Yeah, magic bullets are getting more powerful.
そりゃミラーハウスで散々追いかけ回されたからなあの時と同じ動作なのに物騒さが増していれば嫌でもわかる
Well, you did chase me all around the House of Mirrors while firing those things at me, so I guess I've become familiar with them, for better or worse.
でもいいのか確か数に限りがあるとか言ってただろもう随分撃っちまったけど20、30じゃ効かないぞ
Are you sure you're okay though? I remember you mentioning that you're limited number of shots, but you fired at least 20 or 30, right?
あんた、時々あれよね。
You know, every now and then you...
ん
Your opinion can improve just a little.
なんでもない。
Never mind.
私のマダンの威力が上がっているのは単純に魔力の濃度の問題。さっきから霧がかかってるでしょ。あれ全部魔力なのよ。弾を撃つための燃料と思って。
A boat's increase in power is a simple matter of density to their magical energy. You've seen that fog around the part from a bit ago, right? It's all magical energy. Think of fuel for my bullets. Okay. So you can use it from the environment. That's interesting. Magical energy was divided into 2 broad categories. First was OD, produced inside a mage's body. Second was mana, which filled the atmosphere. That's OD. At that moment, the Mew part had turned to a fairy tale land overflowing with mana. Although it meant nothing to the average person, to a mage it was a paradise where spells could be cast as much as one
じゃあ
pleased.
残り魔力とやらは気にしなくていいのか
That means you don't have to worry about how much magic whatever you have left in that
注
state.
意すべきは怪我と体力だけ。
All we need to worry about are injuries and stamina. Yeah, you should be firing that shit at full at
ま
stage 3,
あ個
honestly.
人的な責任においてはその限りね。
Well, as far as our own lives are concerned, yeah. Sergio breathed a sigh of relief. From Sergio's perspective, more so than the monsters she mowed down, Alka was the biggest bully on the playground. He had been concerned about what would happen should her magical energy be exhausted, but luckily for him, she was far from surrendering her crown.
頼りにしてくれるのは嬉しいけど、ぬか喜びよ。
It's nice that you trust me and all, but let's not get ahead of
あんな
ourselves.
雑魚たち、ただ動いているだけのガラクタなんだから。
Those means out there are just
ス
walking
ナーク本
garbage.
体は当然として、アリスが他の童話の怪物を出してきたら、私じゃどうにもならない。
If I'll summons any other fairy tale monsters, let alone the actual Snark making an appearance, there's nothing I'll be able to do.
他の童話の怪
Other
物
fairy tale monsters.
遊園地をこんな風に変えたやつ以外にまだいるのか？
You mean there are others apart from that thing that changed the heart?
そう。プロイキッシャーって名付けられた、私たちでさえ目を背けたくなる反則。
Yes, they're called ploy kickshots. Aberrations that even we mages can't stand
不
to
可
look
能
at.
な夢物語をも再現する時代に取り残されたデタラメよ。
They're nonsense, lost to time, used to revive impossible fantasies.
うん。
Treasure's expression seemed to be calling her out on the hypocrisy.
あのね、私たちはちゃんと現代に寄り添った魔術師よ。
Hey, most of the modern standards, you know.
できないこともあるし、当たり前のことだけど、近代兵器にはかなわない。
Obviously, there are things we
20世紀。
can't do.
まあ、いろんな戦争の後押しで、兵器の進化は私たちを超えちゃったから。
And we're no match for modern weapons. The 20th century, well, a bunch of wars helped weapon technology kept us to.
けど、あの子のは違う。どんなに人間の技術が進歩しようと関係ないって怪物なの。
That girl's a different beast altogether. Mankind's evolution can't hold a flame to her power.
例えば、あのブレッドマンいるでしょ。
It does Bradman,
あ
for
いつには
instance.
自動拳銃とか効かないわよ。多分、意味が分かっていないから。
Think something like a machine gun would have no effect on them, probably because guns make no sense to them. What? Uncle Kaji gestured outside past the counter.
アリスの使い魔は、全てが空想によってこねられた神秘なの。
Also, familiars are mystic needed from fantasy.
前提からしてありえないことだから、通常の物理法則と折り合いが悪い。空想と現実は両立しないっていう、ごく当たり前の理由でね。
They're all impossible in the first place. They don't play nice with the laws of physics. It shouldn't come as a surprise since fantasy and reality can't exist together.
なるほど。
え
ブレッドマンってのはあの動く焼きたてパンのことなんだ
See,
な。
so they're literally walking loaves of bread. Visual seemed to have ignored the majority of Alco's explanation and only reacted to the part that caught his curiosity.
話を戻すけど、
Get back on
あい
topic.
つらと近代兵器の相性は最悪。ロケット弾でも効果はないわ。意思の疎通、秩序の共有ができてないから。
Modern arms don't stand a chance against those things. Even rockets would be useless. They aren't a part of the same order or shared consciousness as us.
プロイキッシャーにとって彼らの世界には存在しないもの、意味がわからないものは触れることなく無産する。
Deploy kickshots. The fairy tale monsters. Anything that doesn't exist in their world. Anything that they don't understand disintegrates before it can even touch them. This is some like 40k orc shit. What the hell?
彼らに通じるのは同じ神秘を帯びた魔力だけっていうデタラメぶりよ。
Only
もう
something,
完全に概念空間っていうか概念宇宙っていうか。
only something equally nonsense can touch them, like magical energy infused with the same level of mystics. They exist wholly in their own conceptual space or cosmos.
うーん。
要するにあいつらは伝承防御っていう特別なルールを持っていて、単純に強い力、強い魔術じゃ効果は薄いの。
So they're protected
元
by
になった童話にちなんだ欠点をつかないと倒せない。
In short, they're protected by a special rule known as folklore defense, meaning neither pure force nor strong magecraft have much effect. They can't be taken down without exploiting the weaknesses found in the original stories.
ギリシャ神話のアキレスあたり分かりやすい例えなんだけど、知ってる？
Familiar with the Greek myth of Achilles, it's a good, straightforward example. Shor shook his head.
そう、
Shout out,
無
Odyssey.
事帰れたら飛び丸あたりに教えてもらって。
Even though I know this
定
idiot,
番だけ
but
どいい
whatever.
話よ、あれ。
Of course you aren't. God is alive. Have to more tell you about it. It's a cliche, but it's a good story. I mean, it's the story. It's like it's not cliche. It's the cliche. Giorgio was feeling pretty lost, but he did not do his best to grasp the situation. He thought the ploy kickshaws were scary enough to chase Aoko and that puppet from before out of the house barefoot. Certainly, the scene before them was the stuff of nightmares, but Sojo had a different way of thinking.
やっぱり青崎の方が怖くないか？
I think you're more scared than me, Aozaki.
あんた死ぬの？
Do you want to die? Jojo waved in protest, silently pointing out that she had made his case for him.
あのね、今私たちを取り囲んでるのはおまけに過ぎないの。
Listen to me, the things surrounding us now are a little more than
アリス
fodder.
にとってあのブレッドマンもロブスターもソーセージ屋のミンチマシーンも全部が全部私が撃ってるマダンより価値がない。
As far as I was concerned, the breadmen, the lobster, the meat mincers at the sausage place, they're all worth less than my magic bullets are to me.
いい？あの動くマスコットたちはね、ただのおまけなの。アリスが解放した童話の怪物の一呼吸みたいなものなのよ。
Got it? The moving mascots, and all the rest are sideshow. They're nothing more than the breath of the monster she's unleashed.
呼吸ってこれが？
These things are just the breath.
私だって考えたくないわよ。
Yeah, crazy, I know.
でもそれが現状。たった一体の童話の怪物だけで私たちは手一杯。
But that's what we're dealing with right now. Just one of those fairy tale monsters is enough to keep us
そうい
busy.
うわけだからアリスがあと一体でも追加したら諦めて。
So if Alice decides to add another, you might as well give up. How did you think you're on the same level?
追加ってこれに制限はないのか？
あの子が出し惜しみしなければまだ何体かストックはあるでしょうけど
Add another.
成立する条件はあるわね。
Isn't there some sort of limit? If she decides not to be stingy, she has a few more up her sleeves, though, well, there are conditions to bring them out.
例えば川がないと目を覚まさない怪物もいる。この遊園地噴水はあるけど川はないでしょ。元になった童話縛りなの、あの子の使い魔は。
Interesting. Like one monster that won't wake up if there's no river nearby. The park has fountains, sure, but no river, right? Her familiars are bound by their undying stories. Like a Geomancer from Final Fantasy, from the Final Fantasy series. Like her entire craft is based on her current domain.
童話ってかけそばとか？
By fairy tale, you mean like one about a bowl of soba noodles?
ここに川がないのは不幸中の幸いね。もしあったらもっと直接制圧に向いたやつが出てきてた。
Aren't you by water? Fuck is he when like on water? Let me tell you. Small mercy, there's no river here. Otherwise, something way better at squishing us would be appeared by now. I'll do a completely ignoring Sojiro.
話の続きだけど、
Anyway, as I was saying,
アリスの魔術の基本はマザーグース。
foundation of Alice's
There's
maidcraft is
Shanika.
Mother Goose.
イギリスの歌で遊び心に富んだメルヘンチックな内容よ。
Right, wouldn't know that either. Mother Goose was an author of whimsical English nursery rhymes.
ただ、そっち系のプロイキッシャーは怖くないの。
To be honest, this type of play Shaw isn't all that
みん
scary.
なそれなりになんとか魔術にも落とし込める範囲だから。
Taking them down with some of my magecraft is totally possible.
聞きたくないんだけど、そっち系じゃないのは？
I'm afraid to ask, but what's so scary? What's the scary kind then?
マザーグースを下地にしたとある創作童話系。
They follow another fairy tale inspired by Mother
あの子
Goose.
のお母さんが好きでね。こっち系のはどいつもこいつも尋常じゃない。
Alice's
私
mother,
たちから見ても勘弁してって言いたくなるわ。
Alice's mother was particularly fond of it, and every single one is bizarre. No mage wants to go up against one of those.
で、この遊園地を生き返らせたのはこっち系よ。
As it happens, that's exactly what brought the park back
多
to
分
life.
フラットスナークってやつだと思う。私も聞き流していたから詳しくはわからないけど。
I'm pretty sure it's the one she calls Flat Snark, though I wasn't particularly paying attention. So I'm a little hazy on the details. Jojo swallowed the discomfort making his way up his throat. He really wanted her to explain things a little less vaguely, but something she had just said necessitated further investigation.
待て青崎、あの子の話を聞き流したってなんで？
Wait a second, I was like, you mean to tell me you weren't paying attention?
いや、 説明してもらったのは随分と前だし、あの頃はアリスの話あんまり信じられなかったのよね。
Well, you know, it was a while back, and she explained it all to me. I didn't really believe anything she had to say around that.
私が素人だと思って大げさに自分の魔術を語ってくれてるな、舐められてるなとか。
I thought that maybe she was talking up her own magecraft to a newbie. But she was wasn't taking me seriously. In truth, if anyone had taken the lesson seriously, it was Alka. She would learn that lesson firsthand soon enough when she experienced just how real Alice's monsters were. She also discovered how heretical the Minster witches truly were in the world of magecraft.
その聞き流した内容は
Can you remember anything about them?
何でも強力な結界を張るプロイだって。
From what I understand, it's a ploy that puts up a powerful
ア
bonding
リスが
field.
受け継いだプロイは山ほどあるけど、その中でもえりすぐりの一つよ。
Alice inherited a lot of ploys, but this is one of her
捨てられ
finest.
たもの、忘れられたものを童話的に蘇らせるやつで、今まで誰も破ったことがないとか。
It takes discarded and forgotten things and resurrects them, like what happens in the fairy tales. Supposedly, no one's ever defeated it. Oh, great.
それでついたあだ名が触れられぬもの。
Oh, and its nickname is the Untouchable. Oh, fantastic.
フラットスナークじゃないのか
It's not a flat snark, whatever it was.
それもあだ名。とにかく正体がわからないやつばっかりなんで、一つの個体に複数の名前が付けられるの。
That's just a nickname, too. Since no one knows its real form, what its real form is, it picked up a few names
フ
along
ラッ
the
ト
way.
スナークはその中でも正体不明さはトップランクのデタラメぶりよ。
One of them is Flat Snark and it ranks high among the other nonsense in terms of how little is known about it.
あなたルイス・キャロルのスナーク狩りって本知ってる？
Have you heard of the book Hunting the Snark by Lewis Carroll? I've heard of Lewis Carroll, but not Hunting the Snark.
いやそもそもルイス・キャロルというのは
Who's this Lewis Carroll?
そっからか。ドジスン教授はそうね、特殊性癖を持った妄想紳士ってとこ。まあこっちは別にどうでもいいか。
Okay then.
人によっては時間の無駄だろうし。
Start from the beginning. Professor Dawson he was a delusional gentleman of particular disposition. Not that it matters right now. It's a waste of time to explain that to some people. Isn't that every English protagonist? The peculiar fellow with a weird disposition.
今重要なのは彼が残した著作の方。
What's important is the work he left
スナー
behind.
ク狩りはね、スナークって呼ばれる正体不明の怪物を捕まえようと奔走する冒険家たちの話なの。
Hunting the Snark is a book about a band of adventurers who tried to capture an unidentified monster known as the Snark.
キャロルらしい皮肉ばっちり、支離滅裂、意味不明、結末不在の本当に困った本で、一行は島で苦しみつつ最終的にはスナークを見つけるものの、見つけたベイカーは唐突に姿を消して終わってしまう。
It's very satirical, nonsensical, and cryptic. Doesn't even really have any ending either. Though the party does ultimately find Snark on its island after much heart-wrenching. It ends with the protagonist who found it, the baker, suddenly disappearing.
よくわからないもの探しに奔走する人間の風刺なんだけど、この遊園地において誰がベイカーで何がスナークかは言うまでもないでしょ。
It's satire about people who run about busily trying to find something they don't understand. When it comes to the park here, it's pretty clear who the baker is and who the Snark is, right? I'll go elected not to share this, but the Flat Snark had other popular names as well. The Enigmatic Island, and the five-dimensional plane. These names were not given to it by Alice, but rather muttered by mages whom the Meisters defeated. In mathematics, snark is a term used in the graph theory to refer to contradictory and impossible planar graphs. A plane proven to be unable to exist in this world was given the name apt for its ill-fated existence, paradoxical in nature. The fairy tale monster ascribed its name was said to hold no form discoverable by man. Alco also declined to mention something else. Flat Snark was a fairy tale monster that could grow. It would hide somewhere in the amusement park, continuously exhaling magical energy until the park completely transformed into a fantasy land. Oh, it's a
脅かし
cat!
てもしょうがないし。
Well, it's not like there's any point in scaring him.
何か言ったか
Say something, Naozaki?
別に簡単に言って童話世界の再生がフラットスナークの力なの。
No, I was just thinking Flat Snark's power is his ability to bring fairy to a world
こ
to
の
life.
遊園地との相性は抜群でしょうね。何しろもともとが童話を元にした遊び場だから。
When you think about it, the park makes for the perfect backdrop. I mean, it's originally a playground based on fairy tales anyway. If it had been a busy business district, for example, Flat Snark would have posed far less of a threat. At most, its power would be limited to projecting the shadow of a dinosaur onto a building's window panes.
お、だからここは安全だって。
So that's why it's set. Ezra realized something was wrong when he noticed a gluttonous liquid dropping onto his back.
あ、
He looked up to the ceiling. Their eyes met. Before he had a chance to think, Sergio hopped up from the floor.
青崎外だ。
Ozaki, get out of here now. Taking initiative, he jumped from behind the counter.
バカ、何して。
Are you mad? What do you think you're trying to stop him from committing an act of suicide? She also came to her feet. Immediately, she noticed something coming to life overhead.
やば。
Oh crap!
危なかった。
Oh my god, that was close. Gargantuan mouth clamped shut. With no mascot to speak of, the burglar joint itself began to transform into one giant monster. That's what I thought would happen.
もう、なんで天井にピエロの絵なんて描いてんのよ、あの店。
Would he'll paint a giant clown on
普
the
通
ceiling?
もっと違うところに労力割かない？そんなにピエロが好きなら入り口にでも飾っとけ。
Shouldn't they have flexed their creative muscle somewhere else? If they like clowns that much, why didn't they just put it in the entrance? Akko aired out her grimaces as she ran. There was no safe haven left. Moment by moment, the last remnants of civilization were being eroded away by the fairy tales. Yeah, I know the dragon earlier, and I wasn't gonna say anything. I'm going to assume it's just there for aura. This park had reached the final stage of snarkification. It's not just the mascot characters that had been granted life. Like the burger joint, even the buildings began to transform. The roller coaster that made its way about the park writhed and twisted like a Chinese dragon. Alco and Sergio stared dumbfoundedly by the Ferris wheel, which had grown to over 250 feet in height. Hordes of bread men closed in on them, as if to offer tickets.
この列整理は間に合ってるっての。
Putting the lines under control. Mobs of trinkets, actual kickshaws, rampaged the park. Whenever a hole was punched in the envelope, in the envelopment, it was instantly filled. It was a battle of attrition, no end in sight. But it was a matter of course, as there were few fairy tales about limited resources.
なんかどうしようもないぞ。こいつら増える一方だ。
This is hopeless. They just keep
ス
coming.
ナーク本体を探して。
Look where Snark's real form.
童話の怪物には本体に当たる器物があるの。それさえ壊せば遊園地から出られるはず。
Fairy tale monster always has some vessel for its body. If you can just destroy that, you should be able to get out of here. It's Kitsy, isn't it?
本体ってどんな？
Body, what kind of body?
さっき言ったでしょ。童話の怪物は現実にないものだって。今までいなかったおかしなやつとか現実じゃあ
He's
りえ
from
な
the
いもの。
mountains.
それ
He's
が
from
本
the
体。
mountains. How would he know? Oh no. Hey, renewed shuffling. I don't know what the rest of your name is. Thanks for stopping by in your band.
おかしなやつって例えば？
Something weird or impossible. I need an example.
だから
Do I have to spell it out for
命
you?
のある人形とか空飛ぶゴーカートとか。
Living puppets, flying go-karts. I looked paused, her firing for a moment. After saying this out loud, she realized just how deep their graves was dug. Union Park was a treasure trove of fairy tale-esque creatures on any given day. Who could say what was impossible amidst the new transfiguring knickknacks running around?
そっか。 おかしくないやつなんて一つもないんだ。
Damn. Everything here is weird.
この中に紛れ込んでる。
So it's hiding in plain sight. The carriage? Hoping that she was wrong, Aqua bit her bottom lip. Last night was a target ploy that developed boundless fields. Seeing as if it was commanding so many familiars, it would not be unusual for its main body to have little or even no defense. Furthermore, if it was modeled from a story about it being untouchable and unidentifiable, it would be logical to assume that it would collapse in on itself shortly after being discovered. Really?
逆に言えば、見つければ私たちの勝ち。
So if we find it, we win.
そんな脆いやつが雑魚に紛れ込む。木の葉を隠すのが森の中って言うけど、
Something so fragile really hide among its minions? They do say the best place to hide a leaf is in the woods. The horse trade, no! Steel ball run, no! This was the truth. This was closer to truth than Aqua realized. As long as there was the slightest possibility of it being hit by one of Aqua's stray bullets, it would not dare appear in front of them. Its true form was orchestrating the park somewhere safe. Very true.
どこかに見えているはず。
I'm sure we've seen it already.
スナークは本の主題だもの。常にページのどこかにいないと主人公の資格がない。
The subject of a book named after it. It's not standing out on every page. It's no right to be the title character. But where? Put very simple, the Ferris wheel was the safest location in the park, as well as the symbol of its past glory, perhaps.
あの子を捕まえるのは
We just try to catch her instead. Her eyes opened wide at the sudden suggestion. While Asti was trying to plan to overcome the stalemate, and Shirdo had been racking his brain as well. The proposal was simple. If they could not find the snark, they just need to take out its master, Alice. Alice was not moved at all from the clock tower. Even from here, they could make out the figure draped in moonlight.
それは一番ダメ。
Weren't you running like a mile? How did you still can see her? That's the worst move we can make.
アリスを殺してもフラットスナークは止まらないし、このトンデモが外に溢れ出すことになる。
If we killed her, it wouldn't stop the snark. And all of this absurdity would just boil over to the outside.
だいたい私じゃあの子を殺せないから。よくて半殺しがいいところ。
Not to mention, I can't even kill her in the first place. I bet I can only get her halfway there. A Birdman, angered at the insults towards Master, moved to his hat and was mercilessly burned to his crisp. But still back, catching their breath. With no plan to speak of and no route of escape, they had reached rock bottom. Meanwhile, the eyes were forming a circle around their prey, as if they smelled blood in the water. Ready to be dragged into bakery for that oven, minced in the meat grinder at the butcher shop, skewered and paraded around the top of the carousel, walked the plank of the thorny pirate ship. After 2 years of slumber, they were eager to welcome the new guests.
一応聞いておきたいんだけど
Something I need to ask you, Aozaki.
何？手短にね。今考え事してるから。
Keep a snap picking here.
ああ、あの連中が何をしたいか嫌っていうほど伝わってくるんだけど、それってあの子の趣味なのかな？
Okay, it's plainly clear what these things want to do to us. What about her? Does she enjoy this?
その疑問はなかったわ。
I doubt it.
連中の人間嫌いは遊園地の怨念とフラットスナークの性格じゃない？基本的にまともなやついないから。
These
アリ
things
スに
hatred
使いまって。
of humans come from a deep-seated grudge within the park itself. And maybe even Flatsnark's personality too. Us as familiars are one big family of freaks.
ああ、でも
Though now that you mention it, Aqua was able to deny that there were some similarities.
それは結構。それで青崎の考え事って止める方法考えついたんか？
Good to know. So did you come to anything, Aozaki? How do we stop them?
期待させて悪いけどお手上げ。ま、あんたが殺されれば止まるでしょうけど。
Sorry to get your hopes up, but I'm all out of ideas. Oh, but I bet they stop if you drop dead.
それは嫌だ。とりあえず逃げよう。
No, thank you. Let's get out of here.
え、しずきくん？
Wait, Suzuki? He blinked in surprise at the sun-turned event. Sojiro, who had now been meekly following her lead, had grabbed Aku's hand and pulled her within into a headlong charge of the swarm of red, in an attempt to break out of their encirclement.
意味わかんなすぎ。
You out of your mind.
なんで今の流れでそうなるのよ、あんたは。
How on earth did you figure this was what we do next? Ako nonetheless followed Sojiro's uncharacteristically gung-ho lead, cursing all the while. Alone, he had no chance of breaking through the surrounding wall of enemies with brute force. Ako regained her bearings and let fly spray of magic bullets ahead of Sojiro. They burst through the nets and ran as hard as they could. At this point, all was left to do what they planned from the outset: get out of the park. But not before addressing what needed to be addressed.
なんでよ、さっきはあんなに諦めよかったのに。
Where the hell did that come from? Hadn't you already given up at the back at the House of Mirrors? Ako could not begin to comprehend Sojiro's reaction.
ミラーハウスの時と今は違うだろう。いいから走れ。
That was then and this is now. Just run.
違わないわよ。あんたを殺そうとした私も、あんたを殺したいアリスも、理由の結果も同じよ、私たち。
What are you talking about? Alice wants to kill you exactly the same as I did. This won't play out any different. Though she wondered what was getting her so worked up, Ako did not stop. She told herself that the degree of Sojiro's stupidity, charging the Breadman so recklessly, had caused her to lose her cool.
あのね、一緒に逃げてるぐらいで勘違いしないでくれる？言っとくけど私、明日になったらまたあんたを殺しに行くから。死にたくないってんなら、ここで私からも逃げ出したら？
Hey, don't get the wrong idea. I'm going to try to kill you again tomorrow. I'll really do it. If you don't want to die, you should try to escape from me too, got it?
それはまた今度の話だろう。だいたい青崎に殺されるのならいいけど、あの子に殺されるのは嫌だ。
Let's talk about tomorrow. I don't really care if you kill me, but I just don't want to be killed by that
だ
girl.
からなんで？
Like I said, why the hell
だ
not?
って顔も知らない。話したことさえない相手だ。
I don't even know what the hell she looks like, nor have I ever spoken to her. What? Like someone had doused water over her blazing fury. Ako's anger was snuffed out by an absurdly simplicity of his reasoning.
顔も知らないって。
She don't know what she looks like. Even Sergio did not mind being killed by someone as long as she had met them. Ako grimaced as she followed him. From her spot atop the clock tower, the girl observed the grove familiar. Flat Snark, a savior of the discarded. It was a vile, vulgar fairy tale monster provided those abandoned by the fate with a glimmer of hope before snatching it away. Alice had it under her control, but she was still keen to keep the Snark from expressing its bad habits. After completing a lap around the park that had now reached the size of an entire town, the robber made the situation report.
そう、外を目指しているの。
So they're trying to get out. Even Ako was prioritizing the safety of the boy, even result in wasting the entire day. Choosing not to capitulate on the decision was very much like her.
青子のことだから、時計台ご
That's
と
too bad.
私を焼き払いに来るかと思ったけど。
I was sure Ako would attempt to burn down the clock tower, and me with it. Bluebird cheeped in response. Was it denying its master's portrait of Ako, or agreeing that it was Ako's style to do exactly that? An outsider might interpret its interjection either way.
退屈？
Does this bore you? Robin jumped at being addressed so unexpectedly. It chirped and flapped its wings like a flustered servant, frantic to say otherwise.
珍しく気があったわね。
That Mother Goose? The bluebird? It's rare for us to get along so well.
いいわ。
Oh no,
せ
she's
っかく
holding
の
an
ゲ
egg,
ー
so
ム
now
だ
I'm...
し、もう少しだけ盛り上げましょう。
Okay then. If it's a game she wants, a game she'll get. Let's liven things up, shall we? Calmly, she pulled a small object from her pocket. It was a dark gray Easter egg. Emanating from inside, it was the ticking of a clock. Robin knew it was to be a poi kickshaw with a bad attitude far exceeding Flat Snark's, known to be among the best in one-on-one situations. Queen
いってらっしゃい。
Alice. Oh.
称える時間は20分に設定したわ。
through Alice in Wonderland now? Go. I've set the extolling time for 20
い
minutes.
つも通り控えめに壊れてきて。
Break in that subtle way of yours. Together with the witch's breath, the egg filled with praise disappeared. Suddenly a strong wind swept through the park. The words, "I could have killed them all by myself," floated through the air. It was the disappointment of something enormous that was visible to all, yet overlooked. Are the Snarks gonna fight? Is the employees gonna fight? Alco and Sojiro continued their dash toward the boundary separating the park from the outside. The Curio horde stood in their way, reduced in number. The iron fence that separated the two from the outside was just over 300 yards away. Oh, just 300 yards. Fortunately, there were no particularly large buildings barring their path. If the Ferris wheel had stood in their way, that would spell the end. Thankfully, it had yet reached its full strength. The only things that appeared before them were weak oddities that could easily be handled by Alco's simple magecraft. At this rate, we just might. She would have said, "Make it to the fence," if only her lungs would allow it. Since Alco was utilizing the ample mana filling the park, her Tinker magical energy was nearly full. Moreover, the condition of her body's circuits were steadily improving, to the extent that she would be able to unleash at least one all-out onslaught. Until something unusual was hovering above their field of vision. It was locked on Sojiro, hovering 10 feet above him over to one side.
しずきくん、ちょっと。
Suzuki
あ
looked.
あ、さっきからついてきてる。
That thing has been on us for a while. We were seemingly noticed it before Alco, hence his previous awkward glances toward the sky. In truth, it would have been stranger for him not to notice, as the thing was perhaps glued to him. What's it say on it? So I know it's Alice. It's Queen and Alice, Moon and Grass. I think the bottom says the same thing, but upside down. In terms of its size, the floating object measured about 3 feet in diameter. Tiles covered the exterior, about which a multitude of spinning lights danced about it.
卵かな。
Is that an egg? So I asked, not really sure what to call it.
卵？ 卵って言ったら割れる卵。
If it's an egg, that means it'll crack. The bullets bounced off it. It was like it was made of rubber. That trait, the ability to deflect all outside interference, confirmed to Alco this thing was undoubtedly a vocation.
やっぱり外からのルールじゃ壊れないか。
I knew it. I can't break his rule from
し
the
ずきくん、
outside.
あれから絶対に目をそらさないで。
Suzuki, don't take your eyes off it for even a second.
何があっても見続けること。視界の隅に入れとくだけでいいから。
No matter what happens, keep your eyes locked on it, even if it's just in the corner of your vision.
ああ。
Okay. Alco picked her up her pace as she barked orders. The Eggman who sat on the wall. A Humpty Dumpty? He'd crack, just as the tale spoke of. Nothing anyone could do or say would cause him to fall, but the moment they stopped looking, he would tumble down and break into pieces.
いわく、王様の軍隊でも元に戻せない数の破片。
All the king's horses and all the king's men could put him back together again. Or so it said. It was the Mother Goose's poem Humpty Dumpty. If Sojiro was his target, then the moment he averted his gaze, it would tumble and explode.
まあ爆発するかどうかは知らないけど
Except for the exploding part. Who knows what will happen when it falls. Either way, it was going to scatter something troublesome when it fell. Its oval shape, the keyhole door in the front, and the writing inscribed upon it, they all made her anxious. If it was an egg, that meant it was going to hatch at some point. Even he continued to stare. Once the time came for whatever it was decided to come out, it would have even less ability to conserve their energy.
青崎、早すぎないか。
Saki, slow
あ
down,
まり
would
全
you?
力で走ると
If you use up all your energy now, you'll
後のことは考えないで
forget about what comes
いいから
next.
しずきくんは卵だけに集中して
Just focus on watching the egg. At this critical juncture, Breadman stepped out to join the egg and block their path.
邪魔
Out of the way. There's lead in that thing. The Breadmen were marching forth in a grand battalion. At her level of firepower, Alka should have easily mowed them down. However,
片焼きかこの
if hard crust, take this. If Snap failed to do the job, that meant it was time to put her crest to use. A formula triggered bullet encased in a full wind jacket. In her previous shot, were the equivalent of a machine gun volley, then this was her artillery shot. God damn. Hard crust bread that absorbed her snap without a dent scattered into thousands of tiny pieces as her draws torrent. Don't keep your eyes on the egg, dude. Well, of course, destruction did not end with just breaded man, but had once been a brick road is now fairly stripped of its pavement. The nearby stalls have been warped into twisted steel skeletons. It was a spectacle that made Sojiro question what the greater obstacle to their escape was, the wall breadman or Aoki's ability to lay waste to things.
ちょっとなんで距離取るのよそこそばにいないと危ないじゃない
Hey, don't wander off. It's dangerous if you don't stick close to me.
ほらもっとこっち
Come on, get
言っ
closer.
とくけどあんたがあいつらに囲まれちゃったらアウトよ私人質とか意味ないタイプだしそもそも区別して撃つとかそういうのできないし
We're out of strikes, you know. If they surround you, you're a goner. You should know, hostages don't mean squat to me. And it's not like I can pick out my targets precisely anyway. It's made a lot of sense to Sojiro. Did not fully appreciate the part about hostages, but he got the gist of it.
つまり今はどこであろうと危険なの
So
か
basically, I'm in danger no matter where I stand.
あんたね
You. Offended though she was by his typical naive response, she could not help but be impressed. Sojiro was a straight arrow, through and through. His eyes stayed firmly focused on the egg overhead, even amidst the chaos of the melee unfolding before him.
その分なら安心か
Don't know why I worried.
物分かりは悪いけど一度言われたことはきっちり守るあたり
May not be the
あなた
sharpest
のいい
tool,
ところよね
but you're good at following orders.
そんなことより青崎俺の気のせいならいいんだけどさっきのパン硬くなかったか
One thing, Aozaki. Am I imagining it, or do those breadmen seem tougher than before?
まあねあいつら少しずつ強くなってきてるわ
No. You weren't imagining that. They're getting
大
stronger.
量生産が軌道に乗ったんで今度はクオリティアップをテーマにしたのかも
It was to nail down their mass production process. They were turning their attention to upping the quality.
しずきくんでもお察しの通りここからは手強くなっていく一方よあのパンたちでさえ個体差が出てきたみたいだし
As you figured out already, they're going to start getting tougher as we go. It seems that even those breadmen have started to develop individuality.
考えたくないけどそのうちジャム塗ったりレタス乗っけたり果ては合体したりして
I hate to think about it, but they might start spreading themselves with jelly or wearing other fillings and merging with one another. Though she was joking, her eyes were dead serious. Sojiro shuddered at the thought of the situation growing even more dire.
じゃあ
So
そ
you're
のうち
saying
ミ
that
ラー
those
ハウスの
guys...
人形ぐらいに怖くなるのかあいつら
So you're saying that those guys were going to become as terrifying as the puppet in the House of Mirrors soon.
間違いなくね。そこまでレアなパンになったら私も自分だけで手一杯になる。ところでしずきくん、ああいうのと喧嘩できる？
Oh, you can count on it. I have my hands full with bread that rare. Say Suzuki, putting yourself against one of those? Jojo shook his head. A look of complete aversion was upon his face.
でしょ？なら急ぎましょう。いろいろ余裕ないんだから。
I didn't think so. So let's get moving. You can't afford to hang around here. Alko took a quick, deep breath, then began to sprint once again. Far in the distance, though, the fog, the iron fence waited 300 paces away. As long as nothing happened, they would make it there in one piece. So Jor followed after Alko, holding on to all too convenient hope. But hope was something ever fleeting. In fact, it lasted not even 300 yards. The edge of the amusement park may as well have been the edge of the world. Oh. Oh, fuck. Oh, that's bad. Dozens of undulating horizons could be seen, crowding the skies like a giant cloud or a thick curtain, or perhaps groaning lips. It was the end of the road, the outer limit of an outrageous and fantastical realm, and yet Alko found it to be much like the last page of an enormous picture book. The sight turned her mind blank. Well, this is about as bad as it gets, she thought. The Snark, this island of despair, had at last brought Alko to her knees as she stared at the swelling border. The park indeed had an end, and even now, as Alko and Sojiro had expected, a fence divided the music park from the residential area neighboring it. It had both doubled in height and had been made sturdier, another hurdle she had foreseen before even laying eyes on it. Thinking it had been snarkified, Alko had come prepared to demolish an obstacle or two. But this construction before her went far beyond a mere wall. It was an ocean that separated the underworld from the mortal one. The iron fence was like a restless, surging sea. One or two walls could easily be toppled. Even 10 or 20 could be dealt with one way or another. Between the power left in her body and that which felt the heart, putting on a brave front was within her power. She could fully mobilize her circuits and her crest to the point of burnout in the last-ditch effort, like some reenactment of the parting of the Red Sea.
でも、それで終わり。
But then that would be it. Even if the path could be open, she would not have the energy left to walk it. And it was obvious that what would become of her afterward. The rodents would hardly forgive her for wreaking havoc around their park. Like ants drawn to honey, they would swarm the helpless girl and tear her to pieces. Despondent and exhausted, she felt a faint sting of remorse. Escaping the park, looking back at how they had gotten here, Alko recognized that her choices had been her undoing. Under the golden full moon, beams of steel bent and merged like a wireframe sculptures. It was only a matter of time before the new park itself became one colossal monster. The horde of familiars gathered in the plaza where Alice was had formed an impenetrable blockade around her. Just above the head of the boy beside her, the whispering egg called Scratchy Dumpty continued to shuffle what appeared on its surface.
Aozaki!
Aozaki.
しずきくん。
Suzuki? The boy's voice snapped Akko out of her trance. If only for a moment, the stark reality of the situation quickly dawned on the novice mage. The sheer hopelessness of it all as it ripped out and snatched away any will she had to resist.
ゲートに行こう。ここはどうしようもないけど、入り口ならもうちょっとマシだろ。
Set for the gate. It's hopeless here. You might have a chance at the
フラッ
entrance.
トスナークだっけ。こいつにもルールがあるって言ったじゃないか。
The Fast Snarf thing, you said it had its own set of rules to
なら
follow.
これは役割の問題だ。初めから鉄柵は通れない壁だけど、ゲートなら出入り口として機能しているかもしれない。
Then we need to think about the basics. The fence would have been impassable from the start, but the gate might still work as an entrance and exit. Sojiro had not given in to panic. Akko found herself honestly admiring Sojiro's ability to analyze Snark's characteristics, given the circumstance. Now calm, she steeled her resolve.
そうね、確かに門はあると思う。
You're right. The gate is the
け
good
ど
option.
たどり着くのは難しいわ。一番弱かった焼きたてパンですら今はもうあれだもの。
Just getting there would be a challenge. Even the weakest enemies, those lows, are becoming hard to deal
広
with.
場や入り口にはもっと上等なのがたむろしてるだろうし、門だってあの観覧車以上の怪物かもしれない。確か大きなキッツィちゃんだったでしょ、正門って。
Plus, the best of her familiars are going to keep gathering at the plaza and the entrance. I mean, the gate itself might be a monster, even worse than the Ferris wheel. It's designed to look like a giant kid's.
青崎はゲートには行かないのか。
So you're not going to the front
まあ
gate?
ね、それよりこっちの方が現実的
Nah,
だし。
you have a better chance over here.
うん。
We'll look at another glance at the undulating iron fence. It was too late to achieve their goal of making out alive. In that chase, she decided to prioritize the other promise she had made.
「今からこの鉄柵を壊すから、あなたはそこから外に出て。
I'm going to go ahead and break down the fences here. You have to escape once you see an opening. This is a dumb plan.
それで私の役割はおしま
Then
い
my
よ。
job would be done. We don't know if the egg... Would the egg stay in the barrier? Though her words were few, her tone told the whole story. She was telling him to escape by himself.
信じられない。
It's not
こん
possible.
なの青崎だけじゃ壊せないだろ。
You can't destroy them by yourself, Aozaki.
私だけならね。でも今はこの遊園地が味方してる。燃料がこれだけあるんだ。ま、それでも1回が限度だから、穴を開けたらあんたには全力で走り抜けてもらうしかないけど。
If I were by myself, you'd be right. But right now, the park is actually helping me. With this much fuel, all I need to do is aim and pull the trigger. One good blast should be enough. That said, I'll only be able to do it once, so as soon as I open a hole, I need you to run like your life depends on it. She would carve a path through this iron sea of fences, gambling on one final effort, a great incantation to launch the biggest projectile she could manage. As an outsider, Sojiro could not even begin to imagine just how much of a burden this would be for her. All she could imagine was a hazy vision of Alko being left behind in this park. What would happen to her? Would that girl in black come to save her? Cool as it was to imagine, he knew she would not. After Alko had exhausted her very best in order to save him, that girl would not stay her hands. The only way Alice would let go of Alko off the hook is if Alko kills Sojiro as payment. And so,
20メートルぐらい離れてて、
get back about 50
準備
feet.
に手間取るけど、その卵の表面が茹で上がるまでには終わらせるから。
I'll make sure it'll take time to cast, but I'll make sure to finish this before the egg gets hard boiled. Without saying that this was the only path.
待ってくれ。俺を逃がすって言うけど、 それに意味はあるのか、青崎。
Wait, I want to know. Is there even a point in letting me go? No.
ないけど、外に出られたところでアリスから逃げ切れるとは思えないし。
None. You're going to get out of here. There's no way you'll be able to escape Alice forever. That's what I was saying.
これぐらいは最後の意地よ。守るって言ったんだから、できるところまでやらない
You
と。
know what? Being this dumb to stand on business, maybe I'm coming around to Alka. I'm coming back around. But I'm stubborn to the very end. I said I protect you, so I'm damn well going to do my best to keep you alive. Surprised by her seemingly moral stance, Sojiro saw Alka in a new light. Ah, but of course, Sojiro realized that she was not fighting for his sake, for the sake of her pride.
そうだったな。
Right. I guess she did say
け
it.
ど、それなら俺だけ逃がすのはらしくないぞ。
It's not like you'd let me go by myself.
何よ。いいから離れてて。
Give me a break. Just move already. Alka eased off just a bit. She recalled how, an hour ago, she had gotten the better of her. He had gotten the better of her.
青崎、まだ意地を張れるんなら、他のことをやろう。
Ozaki, if you're still willing to fight, then let's do it some other way.
このお化けみたいな鉄柵を壊せるなら、他に壊すべきものがあるはずだ。
If you can destroy that monster of a fence, then let's put your power to better use.
ないわよ。悪いけど、私は目に見えるものしか壊せないの。最後まで形のない希望にすがるとか、考えるのも寒気がする。
There isn't anything else I can do. Sorry. But all I can do is destroy what I can see. Dying for some forlorn hope isn't how I want to go out.
いい？今はフラットスナークなんかより、この壁を壊してあんたを足抜けさせるのが私の現実。私に負える最大限の責任って。
Don't you get it? The fact that blowing things up to let you slip out is all I can manage. I can't beat Flash Knight or anything else. It's the least I can do after.
逃げるのか。
So you're gonna run from this responsibility too? Aka was just about to turn her back on him when Sojiro clutched her hand. His words caused something inside her to boil with rage. It was as though someone had set her heart on fire. The surprise that pricked open her true feelings and the disappointment she felt towards herself awed her frozen limbs.
誰が逃げるのはそっちで、逃がしてあげるのはこっちだって言うのよ。甘く見ないで。いざとなったら遊園地ごと爆破してみせるわ。
Why you? Don't you get it? Don't get it backwards. I'm the one letting you escape. Not the other way around. I'll blow the whole damn park up if I feel like it. Just watch.
そうか。なら、ここで俺を逃がすのは無駄だな。
Okay. In that case, it'd be a waste to let me escape
そ
right
の気
now.
迫は本命のために取っておこう。それまでは俺も手伝うから。
Save that move for when you really mean it. I'll give you a hand until then.
手伝う？それこそ無駄な気遣いよ。
You help me? Talk about a waste of time.
玉来た。いいから逃げろバカ。だいたい走り詰めで息も絶え絶えなやつなんか使えないわよ。
Now you're really pissing me off. Just get out of here, you dimwit. What do you still have for a dunce whose special powers are running himself
そ
ragged?
りゃいい加減ヘトヘトだけど、
You'd be pretty
そう
exhausted.
いう青崎なんか、疲れ以上に傷の方が傷んでるだろ。
But you're in worse shape, Aozaki. Just look at yourself. You're tired and injured. Not to mention the injury to her back that Aoki had nearly forgotten about. Even now, she couldn't ignore the pain the automaton inflicted on her spine. With iron will, she managed to push it out of her mind
Ora.
mostly.
魔術とか抜きにすれば、まだ俺の方がマシじゃないか。入り口までおぶっていくことぐらいなら、なんとか。
Even without any of that magecraft stuff, I'm still in better shape than you are. I could probably even carry you all the way to the entrance if I needed to.
できないことは口にしないで。
Don't make promises you can't.
もういいから言って。慣れているもの、私は。でもあなたは違う。こういうの初めてでしょ。
Just go. I'm used to this, and you're not. It's the first time facing this sort of thing, right?
だからいいの。
So it's okay. The fact that they were a team, the fact that she would still have to kill him after all this. None of the irony was lost on her as she said these words. It didn't matter anymore. Still, Shoujo didn't let go of her hand. He gripped it even harder. His expression was the same as ever. Hako frowned, trying to figure out if he was upset with her.
確かに、こういうのは初めてだ。
You're right. This is my first time this sort of thing.
けど、山じゃ危険な目ぐらい合ってる。鹿に襲われたことだってあるんだぞ、俺は。
I experienced my own fair share of danger in these mountains. I've even been attacked by a deer, you know. As a city ghost, she had no idea what it meant to be attacked by a deer. His determination was apparent enough, though. True. Looking back at it now, he had maintained his composure through it all. I mean, getting attacked by deer is really scary, actually. So I go for morning walks and I run into family of deer. I'm always worried that a buck is just going to charge me. I've seen them sprint around sometimes, and they're fucking fast. I know one person would barely be able to talk through such a panic. Sorry, someone's crying on my other monitor? What's happening? No, she's cry laughing. Never mind. No one person barely able to talk through such panic. Perhaps growing up in the deep mountains far from civilization had taught him how to stay calm in the face of so much.
だから信じてくれ。少しでいいから。
So trust me, just a little. He spoke his plain, unadulterated feelings and released his hand. There was no lie in him. Excuse me. In fact, he was too honest, so much that he found it hard to believe him. Sojiro had no reason to go that far. As it stood, Aoko had no future. After confessing this and telling him to escape, why did this boy still offer to help a person like her?
わからない。どうしてそこまでするの？
I don't understand. Why do all this?
私に付き合えばあなたは死ぬのよ。
You're going to die if you stay with me.
これが最後だからちゃんと考えてよね。
This is your last
あなたは
chance.
ここで逃げるべきよ。
Think it through. You should be running.
それはわかるよ。でも行かない。
I know, but I'm not going anywhere. Sojiro answered immediately, realizing that Aoko was looking for his reason. This level of insight in Sojiro demanded a round of applause.
そうすると、青崎が死んでしまいそうだ。
If I do, you'll die, Aozaki. His words were as irrational as always.
だからどうしてそこまでするのよあんたは。
But why? Why do it? Why go so far for me? Shuzan got a frustration. After thinking for a moment, Sojiro
そ
replied,
りゃ、君が好きだからだろ。
I guess it's because I like you. Simple and to the point. His face seemed to ask why she would even question him so. There was a pause, no more than 2 seconds. Surprised Tech had stopped Aoko in her tracks. Alice was not the only one who had an ace up her sleeve. The line reached deeper, even than the Flan Snark could ever hope to. All Aoko could respond with was the expression of pure shock. It was a simple, stubborn reason, the strongest kind on earth. Retro Suzuki was indeed incomprehensible. To be able to work unconditionally with someone who was trying to kill her. But she felt as though she'd finally grasped a sliver of truth of his true nature. Tomorrow and the other assessments of him was correct, as vexing as it was to her to admit.
バカね。私はあなたのこと嫌いなのに。
You know I can't stand you. You sure are a dip, you know. He laughed at her sour grumbling. At this point, he was used to her insults. Their clash of wills ended there. Ako's blood ran hot from a blazing heart. If he was going to make a face like that, all she could do was try to think of a way to get them both home.
私だって逃げっぱなしは性に合わないし。
Running away isn't really my thing anyway.
いいわよ。最後まで粘ってみる。
Fine, I'll stick
そ
to
れにしずきくんが付き合ってくれるなら何かの役には立つでしょ。
stick it out to the end. If you're going to stay with me, Suzuki, I'm sure we can find some way for you to help. Though her tone had lightened, there was still hesitation in her eyes. It was only natural. Aoko had not even a clue how to begin to fight Snark. If only she had been a bit more skilled, or had trained it just a bit more, there might be some way to look for it.
我ながら情けない。せめて正体を暴く手がかりでもあればいいんだけど。
I'm better than that. If only I had a way to peel back his true form. Consciously, she left her operation shot. Sniveling was pointless. She would just have to figure out by herself, but
なんだ、正体さえ分かればいいのか？
what's all the... What, that's all we need to figure out? Huh? Uncle gave him a look, as if that... what that was supposed to mean.
いや、
I mean,
だから
yes.
おかしなものはどれかってことだろ？
I mean, you asked me earlier to look for something weird. Which also made a face that's just that she should have brought it up sooner.
わかるのあんた。
Wait, you know what it is?
多分。いや、結構前から気になっていたんだけど。
I think so. Well, I've been wondering about it for a while. Actually. The girl whispered in her ear quietly, as to not be overheard.
Oh.
It was certainly unexpected, but then again, equally obvious. After he explained the mistake, she knew right away that he was correct. At last, she made an inkling of Flat Snark's original form, namely... They strategized for 10 minutes. After liberating the Snark's true form and figuring out a plan of attack, the two exchanged nods in acceptance of their roles.
そ
What
れ
could
じゃ
it
あ
possibly be?
ここからは別行動ね。
We'll be splitting up now.
でもミラーハウスの時みたいなのは勘弁してよ。
Just don't make
こ
it.
の作戦の肝はあなたなんだから。開始1分でドジったら本当に打つ手なしだからね。
Just don't make it a repeat blunder in the House of Mirrors. You're the crux of this operation. If you bungle the start even a little, there's no coming back from this one. Though she dabbed him over his previous failure as a decoy, her voice was bright. Ako's original vigor had returned to her as Sojiro's discovery of the truth. Are we forgetting the egg? Meanwhile, Sojiro was also getting serious in his own way. He took Ako's warning to heart.
ならいいけど。いい？さっきと立場は反対よ。
Good. But remember that our positions were reversed this
失
time.
敗したら死ぬのは私じゃなくてそっち。もうフォローに回れないからできるだけ慎重にね。
If we fail, I'm not the one who's going to die. You are. I won't be there to clean up your mess, so watch your step.
分かってる。
I know.
今更ながら、やっぱりさっき逃がしてもらえばよかったと思うぐらい慎重だ。
After all, I regret not taking your advice earlier. I'll be careful. Short nodded, telling her to leave it to him. Though he made it sound like he was holding a grudge. It seemed to him the only way of showing her his resolve. Ako let out a sigh of defeat. Once more, she couldn't figure him out.
ほんと大バカなんだか大物なんだか。
Seriously. Can't tell if you're a big idiot or a big hero.
でも任せた。期待してるわ、しずきくん。
Whichever one it is, I'm counting on you. Don't let me down. She had wanted to say that she believed in him, but apparently that was too embarrassing for her. Akko turned away from Sojiro and began to run. She began to think that maybe this change of pace was not so bad after all. And so ended the intermission. The young cast members were handed their new lines. Whatever happened next, the Night of Witches had, at long last, entered its climax. They split up. You're sure? Sorry, I just got a crazy DM? What the hell? She was filled with foreboding as the Robins report. Apparently they had gone to opposite directions. The park's residents had set off after the boy, witness, and it would take them mere minutes to capture him, so the bird said.
どういうこと
What did you mean?
追いかけているのは本当に彼青子が変装しているのではなく
Is it actually him they're following, not Akko in disguise? Robin flapped his wings, chirping away any doubt. It had seen them with his own two eyes. Akko was heading for the plaza, while the cocky brat was making a run for the roller coaster.
青子が彼を見捨てたですって
That Akko abandoned him?
そんな簡単なことならいいけど
Sounds a little too good to be
ダンプ
true.
ティは彼に張り付いているの
Is Dumpty still on his tail? Robin nodded enthusiastically. It didn't know about the other birds, but with its superior night vision, it had seen that sucker clearly because it had moved to a high point.
ダンプティはなんて
And Dumpty?
最後まで歌わせろこんな褒め殺したい間抜けはまたとないですって
He said to let him sing to the very end, that he may never get the chance again to do so for his fool this asinine. Scratch Dumpty was a ticking time bomb that would drop and detonate the moment the target averted its gaze. That is, as long as his target continued to observe him. In a way, he was a gentlemanly ploy kickshaw. Though Alice wished she would forego such niceties when in battle.
そうね視線を切らないだけではダンプティからは逃げられない表面の詩が完成すれば扉が開く
Let him have his fun. Keeping an eye on Dumpty won't save the boy anyway. Once the poem on his surface is complete, the door will open.
彼がどこまで逃げようとあと少しでダンプティがしまってくれるわ
No matter how far he runs, Dumpty will end him for us. So the park, or rather the Snark, was destroyed. Sojiro would not be able to escape. Which means the larger concern was Aoko. Aoko had promised to protect the boy, which begged the question, where was she running to?
ここにいる限り青子の動向はつかめない
As long as we stay here, we can't track Aoko. Alice looked over at the park, ignoring Aram's attempt to get her attention for his plumage. Flat Snark was nearly reached its full size. It was a different breed of beast compared to the other cheap boys. To her, it was one of the three most irreplaceable and precious familiars.
そうね
Yes,
任せたわスナーク青子が諦めない以上
she's all
あな
yours,
たも手
Snark.
は抜かないで
Don't hold back until Akko is brought to her knees. Damn, everyone's cold out here. What the hell? Alice remained where she was, with the same historical merit as the troll under the bridge and the poison-clawed reptile. Flat Snark was one of Alice's ultimate ploys. She was placing her trust in its reputation and ability.
でも忘れないでこれはゲームよ
But don't forget, this is the game.
勝敗がついたのなら私のところに帰ってきて
When the contest is over, return to me. The drifting fog ignored its master's words. It was the one thing that Alice had misread. The Flat Snark was a king, even among other ploys, of terrible, vulgar antics. Death to defeated, gruesome tragedy to the vanquished. No pleasure, it found no pleasure unless it was brought about dramatic ruination of life and wealth. The fog billowed like wicked laughter. After all, only a king had the right to decide the fate of the vanquished, and the Snark's greed could not be contained. Thus, it had even the slightest intent to play fair, despite its master's orders. over 100 feet high. One careful step at a time, the figure made its way gingerly up the track, which stretched into the heart of the amusement park. He stayed his breath, his beating chest and pounding of his breath. Even the tiny moves were an obstacle to his progress. Isn't this where the dragon is? Isn't the dragon the roller coaster? Isn't this really fucking bad? This is really freaking bad. Amazingly, the one making this pale-faced advance higher and higher was Sojiro Suzuki. Far below, he saw a horde of bread creatures that congregated by the roller coaster platform. As they bustled this way, and their numbers continued to increase by the minute, seemingly cheering on Sojiro with raised arms as he made his ascent. Or rather, they jeered as if beckoning him to come down.
助かった。あれ、高いところは苦手なんだ。
Well, at least they don't like heights. Of course, near... Of course, near to Sojiro, but his current state was the lesser of two evils. The only thing that followed him now was the floating egg. After heaving a huge sigh, Sojiro bent toward the bit and climbed the track that inclined toward the heavens. 150 feet now. If this were a skyscraper, he would be on the 16th floor. Strong gusts of wind whipped through the air, through his hair. Humans had an instinctual fear of heights. Particularly a place like this, which called forth visions of falling to one's death, would cause a person's knees to tremble against their will. It was an instinct that forewarned death, urging Smash to return to the safety of the ground. It was a reasonable reaction. Climbing the roller coaster tracks was beyond funny stories and into the realm of fantasy. The strong winds, the change in air pressure were a hindrance. His instinct screamed at him to stop, causing his limbs to go numb, his muscles to go limp, and his mind to... Even if he had been tied to a lifeline, a mere 15 feet of climbing would still have caused these spots to freeze out of sheer terror. And it would only get worse from here, exponentially so. Every foot forward increased the load of both his mind and his body by another degree.
よし、頂上まであと少し。
I can do this, just a little bit more. The burden on his mind notwithstanding, he carefully measured the toll of his body. His legs, which had carried him running this far, threatened to buckle the moment he let his guard down. This fatigue was likely why Aoko had stressed that Sojiro's role was more dangerous than hers.
待てよ。
Wait.
逆を言うと、疲れてなければなんとかなると思
Would
ってたんだ
Aozaki
よ
have
な。
been so worried
青崎は。
if I wasn't tired? Sojiro laughed as he stared at the floating egg. He reflected on the course of events that had led to this absurd situation. Not even 10 minutes ago, they had been engaged in conversation.
じゃあ次ね。正体が分かった以上、あとはどう壊すかを話し合いましょう。
Okay, since we know what form it's taken, we need to talk about how we're going to destroy it. Sojiro felt a shudder travel down the spine of Ako's smug grin. In hindsight, Ako had been more than happy at this point to make him do something absurd.
どう壊すかってそれなら
How are we going to destroy it? Can't you just... Sojiro wondered aloud. From where he'd seen, Ako had enough firepower to tear clean through the fence. He refrained from speculating about Flat Snuck's true form because he had felt that there was nothing they could do about it, even if they knew. But they had changed. For Ako, the impossible was quite literally within their grasp.
そうでもないわ。私の目算だとあと50メートル分ギリギリで届かない。
It won't be that easy. By my estimate, I won't get within 115 feet of the thing. The spirit filled Sojiro's eyes. Ako lifted a hand to her long hair and made a magically charged fingertip. Clipped a clean tuft of it.
足りない分は努力と根性ってね。
But we can make up the difference with some
あ
elbow
なたは
grease.
できるだけ高いところまで逃げて。頃合いを見て合図を出すから。そうしたらこれを空に放ってくれる？しずき君の役目はそれだけでいいから。
Wait, get to the highest place you can. When the time is right, I'll give you a sign. Just toss this into the air. That's all you need to do. But based on where Ako pointed her gaze, she did not really mean to leave it up to Sojiro to pick the highest place she could find. She was staring conspicuously at one of the amusement park's two main attractions, the roller coaster. So in other words,
つ
you're
ま
saying
り
we
青崎
split
とは
up.
別行動をとってあの怪物たちに追われながら高いところに逃げ込めと
Then you want me to run away from the monsters chasing me and escape to somewhere high, right?
そういうこと。ほら、あのうねうね動き出してるコースターのレールとかよくない？
Exactly. And hey, wouldn't you know it, the tracks of the winding roller coaster are perfect. There were two demons in this park. Her smile made even Sojiro want to respond that it was far from perfect.
疑いたくはないんだが
For me to question your motives here, but
本当はあの子とグルで俺を遠回しに殺そうとしてるんじゃないか
you're not secretly working with that girl to kill me, are you?
あら、私に殺されるのならいいんでしょ？
No, wasn't it okay to say... It wasn't you who said it was okay the one who was killed was you?
人の出現を悪用するのは良くないと思う
It's not nice to dismiss other people's words. The girl nodded his head. This was not sane. If he did what she said, he would die from exhaustion before kids even had a chance to eat him up.
私だって鬼じゃないわ。ほら、
I'm not a
こっち
monster.
向いて。
Hey, look it.
おまじないかけてあげる。
I'll cast the charm on you.
うん
The Lysa touches, close enough for the breath and skin to come in contact.
あ
Aozaki, he finished with a hushed voice. For one of them, it was a rather mundane mage path. For the other, it was a head-spinning intimate ambush.
軽く、弱く、うまく、早く。
The weight of the air, the tremble of one's breast,
チクタクチクタク。急げや急げ。
late lags behind while the shadows pull ahead. Words that could not be produced by normal larynx, carrying particular weight to them, were reverberated against his eardrums. If words were given colors, these would have been the color of her name, blue. Sojiro's exhausted body and burning blood gently cooled.
飛ぶ、泳ぐ、駆け抜ける。
A bird in the sky, a fish in the sea, you in the distance.
チクタクチクタク。汽笛を鳴らせ。
Stuff doubt and anxiety in a sack. Begin the journey at
星は
dawn.
いつでも北の空。
A shining star
どこまでも。
falls into your heart. In reality, it took but a few seconds, but the sudden contact had felt longer.
よし暗示成功成功したはずここまで手応えがあったの初めてだし
Successful, I think. This is the first time I actually felt the take.
アリスの小言もたまには役に立つじゃない
Because all those lectures from Alice paid off. Very merry, Alko stood aside, a very confused Sojiro. After he asked what the heck had occurred, she responded.
簡単な暗示よ 一時的に恐怖心を消しておいたから高いところに登っても平気なはず。
The mental suggestion. Temporarily erase your sense of fear, so you should be able to climb up there. No
あ
problem.
の手の作業で一番足を引っ張るのは同様でしょ。
The biggest thing standing in our way is your nerves, right?
恐怖も何も感じなければ
If you don't feel
地
fear,
上何
then
メ
no
ート
matter
ルだろ
how
うと
high you climb,
平
it's
均
no
台
different
と
from
そう
walking
変わら
without
ないっ
speed.
てわけ。
He seemed to get it. It actually all sounded like Greek to Sojiro, but he accepted it as an explanation to her strange actions. And we still don't know why Sojiro is bandaged from like the neck down.
やっと
Oh,
着いた。
finally, I made it. He arrived at the summit of the track. From nearly 200 feet high, Sojiro had a bird-eyes view of the entire amusement park. He was able to spot Ako's figure right away. In the plaza, not so far from here, she seemed to be occupied with something conspicuous. Her surroundings lay still. The brandmen were still busy trying to figure out how to reach Sojiro by trial and error from the roller coaster's entrance. They were over 300 feet away now.
汗をかくはずだ。こんなに移動したのか。
No wonder I'm dropped in sweat. Look how much ground I covered. The strong winter gales quickly dried the sweat on his brow, but he was drenched underneath his shirt. This much sweat was worth at least half a mile run, not to mention all the scares he had experienced throughout the night.
でもよかった。あとは合図を待つだけだ。
All he had to do was wait for the signal. He felt a wave of relief, but not at the thought that Akko destroying the Snark in the Nightmare's Park. He was simply happy that he could repay a bit of his debt from the House of Mirrors. A blue bullet rose from the plaza where Akko was located.
合図だ。
It's a signal. Sojiro stood up off the tracks and pulled a pouch he had stolen in his pocket and tossed it forward. Without any regard for his questionable footing, he gave it a mighty overarm pitch. The small pouch threw a parabolic curve in Aoki's direction, quickly becoming untied in midair. Settled by was a lock of her hair and a small stone weight.
高いところから風に乗せてくれればあとは何とかするから。
Throw it with the wind from somewhere high up, and I'll take it from there. Akko had said, but it was Sojiro's effort that had set the planet in motion. The tuft of hair remained airborne, drifting as if it was watching over its owner. Jojo's job was done. He remained concerned about the egg hovering over him, but there's nothing he could do about it. Jojo's breathed a sigh of relief and leaned forward to watch the rest of the planet unfold, but then,
むむ。
in the corner of his eye, he thought he spotted something familiar approaching Aoko. Familiar? Familiar? This is the puppet? Is the puppet still alive?
ルートセット。
Lifting the crest.
Direct. 1層2層予備に3層。
Direct current crest. First layer, second layer, third layer. Reserved.
魔力提供体現に固定。
Magical energy supply fixed to greater
循環よ
source.
し射角よし術式安定大まかよし。
Flow check, angle check, formula stability, good enough. The pattern began to carve itself into the brick street. The casting of an unprecedented incantation with an unprecedented range. Keeping the rising tension contained within her chest, Fledgling Mane snapped her fingers.
決めた。ツアープランスターマイン。
Done. Bullet configuration. Convergent launch. So Star Mine is convergent launch. Tour planet bullet. She knew the center of the formula and raised her hand to the night sky. Not even a glimpse of the transmogrified fantasy land around her entered her vision now. Only one thing, one untouched thing, was reflected in her blue eyes.
実はずっと気になっていたことが。
So this has been on my mind for a while now. This is how the conversation started a few minutes prior. It began with a simple statement of the fact. In truth, it really was the simplest of discrepancies. Any difference between the reality of an hour ago and the illusion of the present were both infinitesimally infinite.
雲があったから勘違いしたんだろうけど。
I thought maybe I didn't know what I was looking at because of the clouds. It was hiding in plain sight. Too impossibly real, too outlandish to be here. In this amusement park, Where every paradigm had shifted, something was brazenly flaunting its normalcy.
今夜は新月なんだ、青崎。
That's supposed to be a new moon. I was like, oh.
思えば初めっからその形だったものね、あんたは。
Yeah, come to think, that's actually what you started as. The distance from the Earth to the Moon was 238,900 miles. And growing. I think it gets 4 centimeters in distance every year. If it truly was identical to the actual moon, then its monsters indeed lived up to its eerie reputation. I think it's going to go until it gets until we get the planet gets tidal locked, I think. But I think by the time it gets tidal locked, I'm pretty sure cosmically our sun would turn into a red dwarf before it finishes tidal locking. If it becomes a red dwarf, it will grow to a size that will encompass Mercury, Venus, and Earth. And probably make was it Europa, the other habitable moon, probably uninhabitable as well. But that's like hundreds of thousands of years in the future. The truth is identical to the actual moon. The monsters indeed lived up to its eerie reputation. At a distance that vast, there had been no need to hide. It could flaunt its true form for all to see. But if it had to hide its true form, that meant it was vulnerable. The monster's camouflage implied that it was set within the reach of human hands.
こっちの最大射程はよくて600ってところだけど。
Best my master range is 650 yards or so. So the hairs to amplify the range. At this point, it was time to give it all she had. Drawing on the energy surging through the park, she extended her firing arm. Blue firework launched into the air. Looking up at her hair dancing in the wind above, Aka reached out her right hand as if to catch the night sky. The mage's own body was made for the perfect catalyst. And for a female mage, the hair she had grown out over many years made for a particularly valuable and powerful source of fuel. To use it, all she had to do was apply her will. She locked fingers on both her hands together and shouted.
三層展開全術式連結起動
I think it's cool if it's left untranslated. She hurled forth a clear challenge to bind the moon to herself. And this began to whirl about in a vortex. The monster high above bore its fangs at the sight of the blue spell that appeared in midair.
見抜かれたです
Did she figure it out? By the time Alice had noticed the change, that said between Alco and Snark was palpable.
そう
Very well.
なら青子の勝ちよ
This round
すぐ
goes
に
to
戻り
Alco.
なさい
Return immediately.
確かに雨雲を消したのはヒントの上げすぎだけどそれぐらいは多めに見て
Best move to rain clouds was too obvious a hint. I suppose one can't win them. But Snark? Fog continued to grow thick, with no sign of abating. The moon that floated in the night sky could not pardon such an insolent mage. As if the Lord of the Night would bow down to such impudence. There was no staying its wrath at a challenge so flagrant.
スナーク
Snark. Robin swooped in to give his report, but Alice waved it away. Her gaze was fixed on the transforming golden moon. Golden? Girl, that shit is gamma green. That's Mountain Dew. Her cause of restraint did not reach it. The fairy tale monster was beholden to nobody, and it would have no qualms unleashing its vast might upon its puny prey. core of her magic bolt hollowed. The magic circuits within her body spun. Akko fed the magical energy, scorching her nerves with imaginary flame. She was linked to the formula inscribed on the ground. The spell was ready and executed the same as it always was, but its output was beyond reckoning. Within firepower, even this mundane process would inflict injury upon its caster. It would be enough to burn up the nerves that were attached as the barrel.
でもいける
I can't do this. The imaginary heat that reached a terrifying temperature. Akko trembled at the endless feeling, but would have to grin and bear it, lest their efforts come to naught. Akko could no longer move. When she had learned the Snark's true form from Zerdura, she gave up any superiority a movable turret offered. Instead, Akko would become a stationary cannon. That was the only way she could reach it. It was impossible to hunt the Snark unless she was anchored herself, her crest, at this location and aim. At the same time, his action revealed she was out of options. Once the fuse was lit, she would have no choice but to fight to the bitter end. Akko took a deep breath. This was what she wanted. Her preparations were complete. She would be able to deliver this maelstrom of magical energy directly to the moon. With her rocket payload, the third mid-layer served as the cannon's muzzle and sight. It would fire the magical energy once it reached critically, and it allowed Akko to adjust the angle of fire.
キリ
Fog. The moon became warped within her scope. Akko charged the magical energy. The poi displayed its golden form as if to mock her. Come, worship the heavens, powerless sign of insolent bloodline, of an innocent bloodline. For there, it was a point among the otherworldly sky, a mystical visage, obfuscated by jade mist and azure clouds, called the greatest treasure known of the world of magecraft. A rarity more valuable than the entire kingdom. Crown Phantasm. Oh, what the fuck? Fate? Okay. That's it. That's the Flat Snark. Set apart from the first, the world's greatest fabrication. Not yet. Just need a little more time. Isaac screamed at her to delay no further. This fairytale monster was the greatest of its kind. It was about to expose its true form. Its open hostility made it clear that it was ready to
こっち
counterattack.
はもう動けない逃げを捨てての大栄翔先に撃たれたらそこで終わりだ
Can't move. Now if an incantation this long, if it attacks before me, it's all over. She had to shoot down first. Magical energy was at 80%. The flame was operating normally. All that was left was to pull the trigger, but a calm voice in her head asked if it was really okay. She had one shot at this, and there was no going back. It was a battle of precision, no room for miscalculations. Even a tenth of a second of hesitation would tip the scales. Was she really ready for the pain? Was she really ready to deal with the fallout if she missed? Could she really even take down the moon with such a tiny bullet in the first place?
いいとりあえず当たった後で考える
Enough shoot first at Question's lair. Her eyes fixed upon the moon were filled with determination. She knew that the moment she fired, the intense recoil would overwhelm her entire body. Still, she shouted.
上等出し惜しみはなし目いっぱいぶん回すわ
Bring it on. I'm gonna send this thing spinning with all I got. The very ancestor spirit she possessed the fire, she fired her ultra long range projectile into the sky. The fair layer embraced the magical bullet fired from the surface of her. The crest, an extension of Akko's self, unleashed a light to pierce the moon. However, the hell is that? Enormous blue canopy pulverized the beam. It returned to Ether that 3,000-degree flame to nothing as it came into contact with the blue bullet. The recoil of the Grand Magecraft literally boiled her blood. Her body couldn't handle it. Her heart stopped. Her brain went numb from the pain and impact. Her nerves putrefied from the end to end, but her Magecraft revived them all by force.
氷で防がれた
Ice. It was blocked by ice. Even though her vision was gone, had gone white, she could still see it. Swallowing the blood in her mouth, Akko looked up with a scowl. There it was. An enormous shield of ice and a sneering, deformed skull.
撃つのが遅すぎたそれとも早すぎた盾を作られる前に撃てばよかった
That fire too late?
それとも正面からじゃ無謀すぎた
That fire too early? Should I have seen the shot before it? Should I have shot before it made the shield? Or was it too late to shoot it head on? Who
どっ
cares?
ちでもいい
Damn right, who cares?
そう二層
Fire it again.
急いで
First layer, second layer, reactivate, hurry. Exactly. There's no time to think or hesitate. Magic energy throughout the park began to gather. Akko knelt across from the cheerful face of the moon. She intuited that the ice had yet to fully form. Plasnock still hadn't reached its full strength, which is exactly why.
まずいまずいまずいまずい
Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. By accelerating the spell, Akko damaged her own body. The burden of licking the formula to the snark caused intense pain. All she could do was grit her teeth and endure it. All because
あの氷私のマックスよりもっと上だ
the ice is tougher than my best shot. Akko had got a read of the relative strengths. Even for volume of magic energy was identical. Snark's form, its mystical scale, was in a different league. Akko could charge her energy to an absolute limit and would barely make a dent in the ice wall. Meanwhile, there was nothing she could do to prevent her own annihilation if the Snark gathered as much energy as it could.
ならその前に
And before that happens, she loaded the next shot. She issued the order to the floating floater layer. Ignoring the toll on her body, she began to accelerate the first layer form. Rolled her right hand. Single layer was to absorb the store energy surrounding. Wait, the roll of her right arm single layer was to absorb and store surrounding magical energy. The thick fog that drifted through the park was an ancient ether spewed out by the Plasnack's own body that Akko could pour into her formula. Akko's body, which had integrated with the formula, took on an amount of magical energy that far surpassed its maximum capacity. It seethed in an agony. Or rather, it trembled in delight. For a mage, magical energy was a propellant to reach the realm of mystics, the expanse of eternal time, the liquefaction of self, the release from the physical. They were all what one might call a near-death experience. Still, reality had come to break her will. The gap between them was plain to an observer. The gun barrel named Aoko Azaki had not a chance to chip away at the lump of ice. We're gonna curve the bullet. So she accelerated the spell further. The skull grinned. The ice was no shield. It was a hammer that crushed the mages who did not know their place. The moon laughed as it prepared to crush not just Aoki, but the boy atop the roller coaster, as well as the park in its entirety. So what if it hurts? The circuits were on the verge of going critical. Her body had been charged with a scorching power supply from her fingertips to her eyeballs. She would see the bullet fired. She would arrange the Maycraft formula as quickly as her nerve transmission speed would allow. A single attack was not enough. There was no way to shoot it from its flank. Which meant there was only one solution. Oh wait, we're gonna Gatling gun it? No, wait, maybe not that. Okay, altering current. The fur layer began to transform. It's switching from direct to altering current. The spell's supposed strong point, its ability to adjust its trajectory mid-flight, but right now she wanted was numbers. Connecting octogram. All layers max rotation. A blue sun shined upon the amusement park. Beams of light at maximum output streaked to pierce the golden night. Like this. Holding the trigger, she continued to fire, taking in energy ad infinitum. Blue flame shot forth at critical level. But the ice would neither melt nor mar. No amount of sheer heat could make a dent in something formed from such a colossal amount of magical energy. The toll of her circuits sent them berserk, and blood began to run free. More than just too strong. Alice? The battle had become a tussle over the magical energy that filled the park. From the very beginning, this had been the Snark's home turf. Snark had control over at least 80% of the space, while Aoko had 20 at best. I can't stop it. No. The castle of ice descended as if to call the match. All she could do was delay the inevitable. She knew that she had been backed to a wall, and right now the only thing she could do was to keep firing. And again, there was another option. If she had converted all her magical energy into a defense, there was a tiny chance, no, not tiny, a great possibility in fact, that she could save just her. Shut up and just do it already. Not even the ice has a chance against all the magical energy here. Thanks to that broken hope, Aoko continued to rotate her circuits. Time seemed to stop at the magical energy overdose. A second of intense pain lasted an eternity, and then amidst everything, something approached one step at a time. Coming from among the park shadows. Something. Wait. She felt goosebumps from head to toe. She was no longer the ice overhead. In the midst of the stillness, the Red Death drew closer, step by ominous step. Why here? Why now? Her circuits in her mind began to rupture out of terror. The composition of formula and soul began to rip apart. There it was, just behind her. Its footsteps came to an halt. It reached around and cupped her face in its blood-stained hands.
こんにちは。
Greetings? She wanted to scream out with all of her might. This was it. Nothing matters. I don't care. I couldn't care less. Run or don't run. It doesn't matter. Quit holding and reveal yourself. Use whatever you can and show no mercy. What was it? She had one final card to play. Once a miracle had been gifted to her, almost as a joke, it made the ice look like child's play. It was what the Red Death had come to kill. Using it would spell ruin. Not using it would mean death by ice. Then why hesitate? There was no condition on its use. There was no price to pay for its power. She would simply cease to be herself. That was all. Humans love to exist in gray areas of gray. Dozens of electrical impulses disconnect in the brain every minute. Nothing lasts forever, not even one's self. It was not anything particularly worthy of disdain. It was not even anything remarkably worthy of being called a taboo. Shut up. What escaped her lips was now rage, bewilderment from the red silhouette. The girl let out an inaudible scream. Would true magic truly be her savior? What opportunities loaded bull? For all, to begin with.
あんなのどうやって使えってのよ。
I have no clue how to do that shit yet. Indeed, Aqua was still in the dark when it came to that magic, whatever it was. Wait, Humpty Dumpty!
バカか私。
She's a moron. She woke up from a momentary hallucination. The very illusion her breaking soul had shown her. Whining had had the opposite effect on her. Her pride was now ablaze.
逃げるのか。
So you're gonna run with responsibility too? Doja was right. Her opponent had to put her in check. She had done the same to it. It's clear why she was losing. And all she needed was a counterplan, well within her ability. No matter the odds, she was not one to give up without giving it one last shot. That's right.
放り出すのはやれることを全部やってから。
Giving up only comes after you tried absolutely everything. Her numb fingers clenched into a tight fist. She was betting against the house, an unreasonable gamble that should have made her question her sanity. If her first step was off by an inch, her body would be instantly vaporized. But she knew a boy who never fled. She knew of a steadfast courage that could shine its light no matter how small through any desperate situation. Yes, there was more than just herself to be concerned about. If the ice fell, it'd be more destruction to the park in its entirety. Everything he had achieved, everything he had risked and dared to happily put his life on the line for would all be for naught.
本当。
Really.
それじゃあ何のために意地を張ったかわからな
What
い。
possessed him to be so bullheaded? Double? Determination and confidence surged through her like electricity. She was in no mood to be crushed by a giant sheet of ice. She was going to lose, she'd rather do it as the grandest fire was possible. Aqua was a sore loser, and at this point, she would rather burn herself to cinders than let it decide her end.
チェンジ。
To expand area reconnect. She grunted in pain. The energy raged through her body. Her circuits were on the verge of disintegration. Inscribed upon her body, her magical crest was Magecraft given physical form. It did not, however, stop the simply skin and flesh. It burrowed to the very marrow of her bones. Fateful smile graced her lips. Since the reason had been turned upside down by pain, it was only natural. I can do this. Shit. Praise your own body for holding out for so long while being pushed beyond its limits. Skull face noticed the abnormality. It finally recognized the challenge for dominance over this space. It laughed at the conceit it faced. Never did expect the magician to challenge the great Flatsnot, lord of vessels over a millennium. And it's such an age of decline. She tried to catch her breath. She braced herself for the coming pain. She was going to smash the ice to pieces. Both had access to the same amount of magical energy. One of them was greatly outmatched, but
there
there's a difference in our outputs. If I'm losing because of the scale of energy absorption and the size of the barrel, then all I need to do is make the formula bigger and with me in it. Reconnect. Bullet configuration. Her feedback would go beyond anything she had experienced today. Quite simply, her decision went beyond reckless. She expanded both formula to maximum size. The first layer would transform into a giant vortex swallowing up the mist. The second layer would process it from one end and pump it into the barrel. I was naive. I think I could do something cute like shoot it down. What I need to do is blast it to hell. Primeval power answered the spellcaster's conviction. It formed the patterned ride of a writhing serpent. Voiceless magical power flew a banner of revolution. Now look upon the earth, O venerable one. See now this pioneer, the first among trailblazers. She embodies a species that knows no fear, that murders not all of mystic and tradition. I'm done borrowing from you. You lying boojum? If you really want it, I'm more than happy to give it all back. For the newest magician commands the principles of consumption and extinction. An aberrant bullet of light melted through the castle of ice. The barrel held fast. Her control of magical energy was divine. 100,000 miles of veins equal to 2.5 times the circumference of the Earth hungrily drank in the magical energy. The subsequent material strike hurled straight up at the moon. No. Death rose from the moon's surface. A cry of indignant terror echoed through the abandoned Earth. Reality was burned into the eyes of the creature of fantasy. To Alcos, Vayne struggles a taste of victory. Victory despite her absolute reckless use of magical energy. The energy scales had been tipped to the breaking point, but nevertheless in her favor. Bullet configuration.
ブラックライトスター
Total Eclipse Convergence.
ボ一気に
Tear to do one. Damn right. Shatter, 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 shatter. Skyscraper shatter into atomized dust. The island, its unattainably extolled, has swallowed hold of the despair of its many challenges. Long had it proudly eluded mankind's intellect. Not now, Azure Mist bemoaned its demise. In the sky, the icy canopy crumbled. The snark hunting bullet jumped over the moon, and the throes of death sounded like a roaring sea reverberating across this fairy tale land. The battle was over. The big fog dissipated and shattered ice melted away before it hit the ground. The lethal bullet unseated the Night King from its throne, affording him no time to grieve his loss. The oil of the moon, the untouched flat snark, the dreamscape that had begun with its resurrection ended with its demise, drawing it close to a night of nightmare.
Ugh. さすがに無茶だ。
Oh man, I guess I kind of went overboard. What is a boom drum, anyways? It's not the first time I've heard that word. Oh, it literally comes from the Carol Star, the Stark. That's... okay. Oh man, I guess I went overboard. Lying on her back, Alko looked up at the night sky. She lay there perfectly still, not able to move a single finger. When she tried, her whole body screamed out in agony. She was completely empty of magical energy, and her magical crest had come to a halt. She estimated it would likely require a whole day to recover all her body function. Sadly, all she could really do in the moment was take a breath. At least her chest was swelling with pride. She had gone toe-to-toe with a fairy tale monster and had emerged victorious. The battlefield conditions had favored her, it was true, but there was no denying that Alko had come a long way in the last 6 months.
それはそれとして、
Luck or
アリ
not,
スには謝っとかないと。
I owe Allison an
黒いっ
apology.
て壊したらそれっきりだものね。
The ploy's been broken and it's gone forever. Lesnak would never again return to this world. It was an insanely rare item, so invaluable that it would have been impossible of a price to price it for an auction at the association in London. Alko had sent Alice's priceless treasure to oblivion. Needless to say, things had gotten more than a little out of hand.
まあ、
Still, they both agreed to fight, so Alice probably would not complain. Even if she was furious, she would never be so undignified as to show it. The second Alko relaxed, her fatigue finally caught up with her. She did everything in her power to fight off the overwhelming drowsiness. Aside from a few minor internal injuries, her body was miraculously unscathed. She felt like she could probably stand up and dust herself off after a bit of rest. The golden moon continued to burn in the night
正
sky.
体は油だものね。そりゃいつまでも燃え。
Well, you are oil after all. You could probably burn for her. Ako's blue eyes went wide in astonishment. She was still unable to lift a
そっ
finger.
か。
All right.
スナークを見つけたベイカーも最後は一緒に消えるんだっけ。
The baker who found Snark disappeared along with it. Sighed in resignation. Ako accepted that her final stand left her with only 10 seconds before she burned to ash. Elsewhere, just a short moment prior, buffeted by strong winds atop the roller coaster, Shoujo gravely peered down at the ground.
ムム
All she could muster was a single murmur. You could see Alko on top of some drawing on the ground, and
なんだあれ
what was that thing made of? In the distance, there was something familiar in the direction of the ruined House of Mirrors. Shoujo drops before Alko's hair from a great height was complete. While not the most impressive of tasks, it was absolutely a matter of life and death. On top of it all, just thinking about how he was going to get back down to the ground was making him dizzy. He experienced more than enough trouble for one day.
いやでも
Wait. He was frustrated as he stood atop the swaying bridge. Its skull suddenly appeared in the sky above. On the ground, you could see a circling blue light with Okazaki in the middle of it. And one more thing. Its torso slowly crawled its way towards Alko. We were still over 600 feet apart. Unfortunately for Alko, she completely failed to notice it approaching from behind.
遠くて見えないけどあれは
It's too far to make out, but isn't that? Was sure what it was now. There's only one thing in the park that can chase Alko and not him, the puppet.
いやでもほ
What
ら
I mean,
あるいはひょっとして
maybe it's considered had left was long lost when Alko started firing beams of light at him at the monster's wing. Whoa. Unfortunately fired buffeted the roller coaster like a stone. Staying on it was almost enough for him to throw off and kill. At this rate, Sergio couldn't fathom the situation. And man is loud too. Should he head back to the entrance of the roller coaster and warn Alko about their incoming threat? Yes. No, there was no way he could make it in time. To make matters worse, there was a horde of bread down there waiting for him. It may very well have been the case, but Alko was already unaware of the puppet. And take it out as soon as it gets closer. She was Sojiro. She was. Sojiro was sure he would only be in the way. But that seemed like there was anything he could do to help. And beyond that, Alko was not the only one in danger. He was quite in a predicament himself. You can't go home again. The road home was never a safe one. Safest one thought. It was true here as it had been in the mountains. The path he was on was no exception. As risky as the ascent had been, it was even more dangerous to go back down. To be worrying about others, his shaking legs reminded him of only 200 feet separated him from
大
death.
丈夫
I'll be
それは
fine.
分かっている
I know that. Just. His head was pounding. It was just reckless and stupid. Having been raised in the mountains, he was more sensitive to danger than anyone raised in the city. And just thinking about what he was about to do made his throat seize up. There's only one thing he could say for sure.
青崎のことだあれに絶対気づいていない
Ozaki has no idea that thing is coming for her. Okay, but where are you going to jump onto? With a sobbing shout, Sergio started making his way down the 200-foot frame of the roller coaster. His race toward death accelerated. He never meant to speed up, but the downward slope propelled him forward.
この
Here I go. It's too late for regrets. Now he was running, he had no choice but to go even faster. And the time was not on his side. He would never make it in time. If he took the long way down. Never mind the breadmen crowding the exit of the roller coaster. With his exits blocked, the outcome would be the same whether he went slowly or quickly. There was no reason to rush to his death as desperately as he did.
だから
So what? So what if it was futile? potential to clear the doubts from his mind. He turned his attention to what he could do. He was footing and tried to arrive at the bottom as quickly as he could.
間違えるな。今大事なのは間に合うとか助けられるとかそういう結果の話じゃなくて。
Focus. Forget whether you'll be in time to save her. The most important thing is, he had no idea what impulses were driving his stiff limb. He just focused on the moment, pushing the fears and the cold logic. At his core, he was the kind of person to deal with problems head on. There would be time to think the consequences later. Hesitation was not his only
こんな
obstacle.
時に
Not now. The worst possible hindrance appeared at a time. Not focusing on the track would mean certain death. Victor seems sensed something wrong with the egg. He had been so studiously observing out of one eye. Something had changed. At the very moment he realized it.
よそ見してる場合じゃない。
If you look at the side right now, Jojo stumbled, then instinctively caught himself. It was a miracle he had not fallen. Sending a roller coaster on foot was an act of suicide. The egg stayed right by his side, so close it was likely he would collide with him. Though he was trying not to look at it, he could not help but feel uneasy that the door-like decoration in the center was gradually opening.
ああもうちくしょう。なんだってこんな。
Damn it, why now? He cursed his rotten situation, yet he refused to slow down. He ran at me faster, glaring at the egg at his side.
本当おかしい。
This is crazy.
こんな状況なのに。
What's wrong with you? River was baffled to find that he was smiling. I said it had something to do with Aki's charm. Sojiro could not tell one way or the other. He could still feel Aki's fingers on his skin. The trust and expectation she had placed in him was etched in his heart. But what spurred him on was something entirely different. This all stemmed from a much deeper problem. It was something inside him that he could not understand at the time. He would eventually come to terms with one day.
よし。距離は今なら2メートル弱。
All right, less than 5 feet left. He carefully judged the distance as he ran down the track of death. But distance between what? That, without saying, it was distance between himself and the one thing he could save his life. The one thing that could save his life. He also thought that he's going to do it over and over, like a mantra. Pedro could not believe himself. What he was about to do was incredibly stupid. But what is stupid when smart is not an option?
本当なんでそこまでやるんだ。
You could try to jump and grab the egg? I don't know what he's about to do. I really want to do this. This is insane. Amidst it all, he laughed at how pointless such self-reflection was now. Temporarily confusion, psychological thrill ride. Both laid hand on his soul bare. What really mattered in his life? The answer to that question was simple. His primitive values did not crave success or reward. All he wanted was,
よし。
this is it, to live the way he wanted. It was an obligation to the people around him. His desire to live his way was his and his alone.
行こう。
Here we go. The egg had been equipped with a vocal function. He would have gasped in shock at what happened next. The boy he had only tried to escape up to this point suddenly shifted his weight. He pointed his feet outward instead of inward. On the edge of the rail, he crouched ever so slightly to maintain momentum and gazed at the floating egg.
やれる。距離的に問題はない。
Close enough, I can do this. He soared through the night sky. It was a flight that lasted a mere 1.5 seconds. A coreless bungee jump from 100 feet above the ground. His destination? The only thing that would stop his fall, a giant flying egg. He shrieked, this time out of elation as he desperately clung to the egg's surface. Just earlier, the cold-blooded witch had told him without fear, the top of the building would feel no different than the balance beam. This is from the same witch that would have been left speechless had she witnessed the spectacle. It was one thing to be fearless, it was another to be reckless. What the boy did next would give her a headache in the days to come. Counting on you, Egg. Thinking Egg, he shifted his gaze away from it. He felt the rapid descent. The girl, focusing his hope, shut his eyes on the ground, and leaped off the egg once they were a few feet from the ground, then turned back to it, careful to reestablish eye contact. Something so unbelievable felt to Tojiro. The elevator at the department store and the mysterious floating egg were both just moving objects, virtually indistinguishable from one another. Come on, dog.
よし、割れてない。食べ物を粗末にするのは良くないと思う。
Alright, it didn't break. It's always a shame when food goes to waste. Brother, that shit is crackling with energy. He landed near the plaza. The sharp cut that almost cost him his life had now paid off. Tojiro took off running. The second his feet touched the ground, the buffet after Aoko was the only thing on his mind. He paid no mind to the moonlight in the sky. Nor the egg, which was furious about being used. His seconds away from self-destructing, blasting fragments all over the place. Aozaki!
Nanu?
Ako's dumbfounded expression spurs Tojiro on. The curse was complete. The empty shell began to sing its warning to let them know there was no escape. Shrapnel from the egg exploded around the area. The ode to the Queen Alice. That Alice was engraved into Dumpy's quickly robbed him of his senses.
それはそれとして。
Was that it? He snapped back to the task at hand and ran to Aoko, still lying on the ground. His legs moved as if he had a mind of his own, though he couldn't have stopped them anyway, since he could no longer feel them.
お前、驚くほどしつこいぞ。
Don't you puppets ever give up? I don't think this could get more chaotic at this fucking point. The scrambled murder case. Piles of rubble became flowers of light blooming from the air. The final curtain drew close, and the defeated left the battleground. Alice Kwanji seen it happen. Had Alice Kwanji seen it happen, she would have been beside herself. The two had escaped by a hair's breadth. The only person in a position to witness the rare mutual destruction was the girl who had been saved from it. The boy who had never stopped running hated no mind. The boy who had never stopped running. Oh wait,
死ぬかと。
I thought you were gone. Safety of the girl in his arms meant infinitely more than the miraculous way in which he saved her. Drop frames. No! Wizard Moon did not wait for dawn to set. The ornamental texture of the fair retail kingdom fade away. All the illusions returned to the way they were before. From the ostentatious chords reverberating through the streets, to the puppets welcoming their guests. Peace and quiet reigned once more, over a forgotten kingdom never to be awakened again. Out flickered the embers of a late night dream, even the electric lamps that illuminated the park. Together, they watched it disappear. Sojiro lay on the ground, desperately gasping for air, like a fish out of water. The curse of the exploding egg had numbed his pain, and he was understandably exhausted after all he'd experienced. He had looked like he couldn't be blown away by the lights it breeze. The egg did fucking nothing. While Aoko was also exhausted, he was still in a better shape. Focused on taking a deep breath, even breaths, she was already working to recover her strength.
あのさ、
So, she addressed Sojiro indifferently as her gaze remained on the amusement park. The roughness of it was a bit theatrical in nature. She wanted to look at him as she spoke, but her pride was simply too great.
あなた、なんかすごいことしなかった？
You did something something kind of amazing, didn't you? The moment she had accepted her death had seemed like an eternity. She was beside herself in shock at how indifferent she had been as the shards rained down from the moon. But a reassuring voice had snapped her back into reality. Why did he do that? What was he thinking? What moronic things had he done to pull it off? She had no answers for these questions. Lying on the ground as she was, all she knew was that he more than made up for his failures in the House of Mirrors, and then some. In those fateful final moments, she addressed him, hoping to find answers, but found herself unable to probe any further. To dig any deeper would feel like defeat, which is why it was so unlike her to ask him in the first place. Lucky for her, Sojiro had neither the capacity nor sensitivity to understand how egocentric she was being.
すごいって。
Amazing.
それは青崎の方だろ。
You were pretty amazing, Aozaki. He stuttered between labored breaths. It was taking him so much effort just to breathe that he could not dress her properly. She watched him out of the corner of her eye. Thinking back on it, the boy had performed the same role each day. Each and every time he did what he could in spite of recklessness. It was far more admirable than her nearly suicidal tactics. Even she did not defeat her opponent. He did not even recognize how extraordinary his last act of courage was.
提案。あいつをやっつけるのに協力したら、俺のことは見逃してくれる？
Here's an idea. If I help you kill that thing, will you let me go? At the very least, he had the courage to keep trying whatever he could. Inspector might have viewed him as a supporting actor. His actions were not exactly memorable. But the lead actress he supported did not see it like that. Wait,
まあね、
well,
認めたくないし、口になっても
I
っと
don't
したく
really
ない
want
け
to admit it to myself. But let's say it out loud, but just inspired actions were wasted in the supporting role. This guy really pulled out the impossible. It was amazing that she wanted to shout it as loud as she possibly could for all the world to hear.
青崎？
ほんと、人畜無害もどうすぎると侮れないわ。
God, so innocent it makes me want to barf. All Aoko could do was sigh. could she not? When she was forced to admit that even she was forced to admit the way he snatched her from the jaws of death was dashing.
評価
Must be
Amane-
getting soft. Truth be told, he was a lunatic for doing what he did. She steadied her breathing and composed herself. While she was in bad shape, she still had her pride as a mage to consider. That was why she felt a need to maintain an air of dignity.
しずきくん見逃すのは今日だけって話だったけどあれなしでいいわ
Suki, I originally meant to let you off the hook for today only, but I'm willing to let the whole thing go.
To とりあえず命は助けてあげるから
For the time being, I decided to let you live. She hastily extended her right hand. It was either to shake his or to help him up. However, Sergio did not take her hand, but instead stood up on his own. This night, despite the sheer insanity that he had just experienced, his face was not once looked at as incredulous as it did now.
何そのリアクションは
Something wrong? She stammered, worried that she had deeply embarrassed herself. Sergio's gaze was fixed upon Naoko. Problem with had dawned on Naoko. Though she normally hated being stared at, this time she did not mind. Rather, she was enjoying the warmth in his eyes and felt like it was something she could almost come to appreciate. Don't you get it? This isn't just about friendship. I didn't mean he only likes you either. Believe me when I say that Synergy really... Oh. Conversation came rushing back. It was a memory better left forgotten.
いかんそれは違う
No, not happening. Pushing Tomomaru's words out of her mind, Ako turned to Sojiro.
それとこれは別だから
Don't get any
私
ideas.
はあんたのこととか本当どうでもいいんだから
I don't care about you in the least. Puzzled, Sojiro tilted his head.
さっき嫌いだって言われたけど
You already told me how much you dislike me. He responded matter-of-factly to her sudden declaration. Her certainty had pointed that out, to his face no less. Oh, hey Hazel. I'm doing okay. I hope you're doing alright. Oh, I didn't realize it just hit midnight. I'm just trying to finish Chapter 5, Part 2 of this before I shove off, so I don't know how much longer we have. She certainly had pointed that out, to his face no less. It had a mere figure speech that he was not meant to take literally, but now is not the time to belabor the point.
じゃなくて、あなたが私に惚れてても期待しないでって言ってるの。
I am new to streaming, Hazel, and you're worrying me because you're talking like a bot and your account is made 2 days ago and you're scaring me, Hazel. You're scaring me, Hazel. I need you to give me a human response. What's your favorite flavor of pie? And then what's the recipe? And how do you cook your ramen? I need you to answer that right now. Shouldn't get your hopes up no matter how far you've fallen for me. Yet belabor she did anyway. Hako blushed slightly, realizing how inane she was being. She wondered how she'd ended up in this position. And yet, she knew that she had to get this off her chest. All that was left was to politely wait for his response. I can't date you. Such heartbreaking, painful words were too much for a simple boy to hear. His shoulders slumped, as if the world was coming to an end, or so Alko had imagined. On the contrary, Sojiro was sitting there in deep thought.
俺が青崎に惚れてるって
Did you just say I'm in love with you? Sojiro remembered the words as if they were a magic spell. She shot right back with the affirmative. After a moment of contemplation, the boy turned to the expectant girl and said,
なんで
Why do you think that? He had to be joking, but he was not. He was completely serious. So, he liked her, but he didn't like her. Of course, the vice president had jumped to conclusion. This boy had no interest in romance. He probably didn't know what that was. Actually, true, he might not know what romance is, because he seems to not even grasp the concept of electricity. So, she was incredibly embarrassed by how confused Sojiro had even appeared to be. Her rosy complexion spread throughout her entire body.
もう一度聞くけどなんで
I'll ask again. But why do you think that?
そりゃこっちが聞きたいわよ
That's what I want to know.
飛び丸の大バカ
Yeah, fuck Tobimaru. Everyone hates Tobimaru. Just like that, she had lost her cool and given to an unjustifiable outburst. It was time to seal off the area and destroy all the evidence. Ako's embarrassment devolved into sheer panic, and her grudge against Tobimaru suddenly manifested as a criminal assault. She lashed out with a punch that could have been taken down a bird mid-flight. More specifically, it was a brutal right hook. Huh. Ako blinked. Her blow connected with something solid, snapping her out of her revere. Her temper had lashed out at the completely defenseless Sojiro. It had been a splendid blow with all her weight behind it, knocking him out cold. Sojiro groaned, crumpling to the ground. Her punch finished the job that the curse had started. Not for the discomfort on his face, he appeared almost to be sleeping, almost convinced that he was napping, not concussed.
いっか予定通
Oh,
りに
so
なっ
the
たもんね
egg made it so the next blow would knock him out. That's such a weird thing to pursue him this entire time. Considering that he was not hit at all during this entire confrontation. Well, whatever. It was going to end like this anyway. The tension in her shoulders eased away as she looked down at Sojiro. A ton had gone in her way over the course of today, but the day was saved for now. With nobody left to butt heads, she felt exhaustion finally overtake her.
うわ、歩いて帰れるかな、私。
How are you gonna walk home like this? I'm gonna walk home like this. Fatigue was enough to make her complain out loud. When she thought about it, she realized this was the first time she had used up all of her magical energy, and the first time she had participated in a battle of this scale without any prior preparation. Though in truth,
私一人じゃどっちも相打ちだったっけ。
I just like to think. Excuse me, 1 second. Wait, how you spell genitalia? This is important for the message of sending. Jen E. Talia. I spelled it completely wrong. It would have ended in mutual destruction if I'd been alone. She felt somewhat proud as she whispered those words. Normally, it was something that she would beat herself up over, but instead, she simply shrugged. Ooh. Oops. I don't need a bookmark right now. Normally it was something that she would beat up herself over, but instead she simply shrugs her shoulders. After all, it was thanks to her person sleeping by her side.
ね、聞こえてないわよね。
Hey, you can't hear me, can you? As if the knife had swallowed her voice before it reached him, she received no response. Confident, she continued in an even quieter voice. So,
ありがとう。
thank you.
十分に助けてもらったわ。
Really got me out of the jam there. Of course, there was no response to Sergio. She was not expecting one. Saying for the record was enough. Where's Alice? I'll go watch Sergio sleep for a while and then pull something out of her pocket. Also, Hazel, if you're still here, you're worrying me. It was a palm-sized glass bottle her roommate had given her, which she opened a pop.
でも、それとこれとは別だから。
Wait, what are we doing? Well, none of this matters. Behind words colder than a winter chill at night, she called out his name. She barely sensed the bottle moving. As the silhouette of a fallen boy appeared to blur, she got the feeling that the weight of the bottle had decreased slightly.
うわ、どうなってんだろうこれ。
Well, that thing's kind of weird. What appeared to be a human form could be clearly seen inside the glass. Alice Konji's two were mystics. that confounded even the most knowledgeable of mages. As soon as Akko tried to analyze them with logic or reason, she was already out of her depth. Knowing all too well, Akko closed the bottle and watched the boy disappear as if by some magic trick.
まったくこんなの手品じゃなくて魔法だって。
Geez, it's no stage trick, it's actual magic, she muttered as she looked at the magical bottle. Its weight had not changed significantly, and she had no idea how it worked. One thing she did know was that there was a human being inside of it. Its light weight was almost unnerving, closer to empty air than a human being. It was about as heavy as one would expect it be bottled a summer breeze. Though that fit her image of Sojiro perfectly. Summer breeze.
アリスの言う通り。
Just like Alice said, she muttered to no one in particular as she recalled the past.
ほんと私らしくない。
This really isn't like me. Akko wore a bittersweet smile. Her usual moodiness was gone. It was a dangerous world out there. It was good to have someone to keep her on her toes. With a wide chuckle, she flipped the magical bottle with her finger and set off walking. She could hear a bell in the distance, signaling the end of the play. The empirical dream gave way to reality in the grand scheme of things. It had been but an instant. As actors exited the stage left, the last of the lights silently flickered out. And so, the long-dead amusement park played its final role as a memory for a boy and a girl. And that's chapter 5, part 2. Like a dog. It's the second one. Did we do what we said not to do? What Al said not to do and bring him home? Because that's gonna piss me off. Okay, nice. I don't remember. Excuse me 1 second. How long? Because that was the longest chapter, but I actually don't remember how long the next section is. But I do vaguely remember it being the longest chapter. One second. Yeah, this person, I think there's 11 chapters. They broke it up. I just want to view the length. I'm not going to look at anything. I don't know. I don't know. But we did do what we said we're going to do. And there's no extra content. That's good. That's really good for us, actually. Wait, what is this? Wait. Okay, wait. I'm making sure. Alright, and that's the end of chapter 5. 3.5 hours. Not bad. To the, what did it say? It was supposed to be 8 hours. I think I did it in 7. Yeah, I think I did it in 7. But that's going to be all for now. Thanks for stopping by. I did it at midnight, like a good healthy time. Started a little earlier. I'll try to stream tomorrow, but I gotta get pick up some tailored clothes and have lunch with mom and a bunch of stuff. If I have the energy, I will. But if not, I'll see you Thursday. Peace.